Y'all can hear that?
We can, yes.
Welcome to Truth to Set You Free, everybody. Live debate, baby. We about to do this thing.
Wait, we're debating each other?
No. We're watching the debate. I'm hoping it's not a debate, though. I'm hoping it's a massacre. Is this on my page, too?
It's on your YouTube.
And X?
We can put it up there. Might as well put it everywhere.
Yeah, I need it on X. I told everybody that we were going to be there. So
yeah, let me go do that real quick.
It's up.
Yeah.
So both Casey and I feel like shitballs, by the way.
This is how I'm going to survive. Cough drop.
Anticipation of the night. I actually did a radio call earlier. I totally forgot about it because I was supposed to do yesterday. And then he goes at the very end of the 15 minutes. He goes, "You've got a really bad cold, don't you?" And I'm like, "I am miserable." Nothing like being on Cincinnati radio, sounding like an idiot. Anyway, it's big night tonight. We've got the debate. We're gonna talk about a couple things to get started. What's up, Free? I still haven't sent out your book.
You remembered Free. I'm so proud of you.
I'm a piece of shit. I forgot the book. I have it. You're on the list. Oh God. There you go. This is like a kid in his new toy. It's like the first time a 3-year-old boy discovers his penis. I was
just gonna say something along those lines. Like that's the last thing we want to do is give Cash access to the buttons.
Yeah.
Like no.
So Emily, if you want to check this out, guys, again, like this video, share this video, do all said things in this video. So Emily Mangione now has her own photo. We also, what do you guys think of calling her MAGA Mangione? I like it personally.
I'm down.
What's going on with you, Emily? How's it going?
I got called racist today, so
wow,
that's where we're at. Yeah. You know, I'm making jokes about the Haitians eating pets, and I got called racist by. Do you want to guess who called me racist?
A white Jewish liberal.
Bingo! And you
white liberal.
Got the middle part right.
Male.
Male, of course, male, Jewish heritage, and liberal.
California. Oh my God. So before we start the show, before we get into the debate, things we're going to talk about: Tyreek Hill. We're going to talk about the animals being eaten, which is a real thing, by the way. Maybe not as much as what we see, but it's happening. Plain and simple. It's been happening for a while. There was a situation a year ago with Haitians and a bald eagle.
Hondurans. Because you corrected me. I thought that was recent. It was the Hondurans and a bald eagle.
But it's been happening. And we all of a sudden, finally, there's a tipping point. It's interesting. When I was talking on the radio, they think that Trump has been strategic. His campaign has been pretty strategic on when they're actually letting certain information out. So that, I mean, this could be a part of the campaign, these animals. It's happening. It's not disinformation as much as the leftist media says it's not. We'll get a little bit into that. We're going to talk about Tyreek Hill. What's the other one we're talking about? My brain is mush today.
The other topic was it was just Tyreek Hill and the animals in Springfield, Ohio.
Okay, well, that's it. So do you want to start with the Tyreek Hill situation?
Yeah,
let's do that. We got some video up. For people that saw it, here's the deal. Before you play it, so I saw that Officer Tatum did a video, and I'm like, oh, my God, because I saw just a quick clip because that's what the media shows us. I saw TMZ. I saw him getting yanked out of the car, body cam. I'm like, all right, this doesn't look good, like totally unnecessary. But, of course, they left completely out all context, which we're going to show a little bit here, which when Officer Tatum, who, again, I think he is a little bit too much pro-police often, he wasn't wrong on this one. And if we can we go ahead, Casey? Do you want to start it? And have you guys all seen the full footage?
No.
I don't know if I saw the full footage, but I saw a pretty long clip from the time they pulled him over to him on the ground.
So you saw the tap on the window.
Yep, and I saw them asking him to get out of the car.
Right, which he blatantly lied about all of it when he was doing the press conference, saying he's going to use his platform. He's a piece of garbage. White, black, purple, doesn't matter. He's a piece of shit. All right, Casey.
So this is body cam 2 of the officer. The officer that does the most of the confrontation and kind of heightening the situation is the officer up here on the left. That's body cam 1 of this whole situation. But 2, I think, highlights everything in a better view. So we're going to play that one first.
Why don't you have your seatbelt on? Why don't you have your seatbelt on? Like what? Why do you have it up?
Do what you got to do. Write me the ticket so I can get out of here.
The window down.
And then he rolled the window up.
See, like, this is the part that's interesting. Like, he's even looking back to his guys like, hey, this is a sketchy situation right here. Like, be aware. Just be eyes on me. This guy just rolled up his windows on me.
And I think they know who he is. But, like, so if you couldn't hear the very beginning, he was just knocking on the window because Tyreek didn't roll the window down. And Tyreek said, stop knocking on my window. Stop hitting my window. Stop hitting. He said it over and over and over. And the police officer's like, bro, I didn't hit your I just knocked on your window. And that's where it escalated. So go ahead and keep playing it. He's looking at his buddy like, what the hell? And by the way, he was going on. Do we have the exact speed yet? Have they released it?
I think it's 60, 65 if you compare it to the other cars.
In a 30?
Some people are trying to say 45. Some people are trying to say it's 100 miles an hour, and I'm like, no, that's too fast.
I don't think it was 100. I do think it was faster than 60 because I saw the zoom by, and I feel, and the fact that it was hard for the motorcycle to catch up
The
to.
zoom by is in body cam 1. We can play that when we go back to it.
Keep your window down. I'm gonna get you out of the car. As a matter of fact, get out of the car. Give me that. Get out of the car. Give me that. Break that freaking window. Get out of the car. Get out of the car right now.
Born to break the window, never broke the window. Open the car.
Get out. Get out. Get out.
$610,000 car.
What part of that do you understand? Hey,
and people had an issue with how they treated him after this point. They did nothing. They did a standard arrest.
I'm getting up, bro. God damn.
They even got him up quickly, and he was.
When we tell you to do something, you do it. You understand? I'm getting up. You understand? Not when you want, but when we tell you. You're a little fucking confused. I'm getting out, bro. Too late. Too late. All right, bro. Take me to jail, bro. Do what you got to do.
None of this is police brutality.
Good, bro. It is good. Hey, don't worry about it. I hung up the phone. You stop crying, bro.
Stop crying.
Good. Bro, you beating on my window like you crazy.
This is his teammate's car, by the way.
What y'all beating on my window like y'all crazy for?
And this is also a guy that's about to play in an NFL game and get his ass jostled back and forth.
Like he crazy.
And he's saying that he's got this knee injury and please don't hurt my knee. Don't hurt my knee.
You'll hear that in just a second.
Hey, don't park there. Don't park there. Hey.
Middle of the road.
Hold on, bro. I just had surgery on my knee. Bro. I just had surgery on my knee, bro. I just had surgery in your ears when we go there. Chill, bro. Chill, bro. Hey, Joe New, bro. Back up. Hey, call Drew. Hey, call Drew, bro.
That call Drew is coming from Tyreek Hill, telling his teammate to call whoever Drew is.
Drew Rosenhaus, it's his agent.
Oh, is it the agent?
Yeah.
Call Drew. Hey, call Drew, bro. Hey, what? Hey, call Drew, bro. Just call Drew. Hey. I'm not doing anything. What am I doing that's wrong?
Hey, listen.
Hey, listen. Hey, man, they got Tyreek. The cops over here beating on him, man. They over here
beating on him.
Tyreek, man.
The cops are beating on him.
They over here, Drew, you gotta come, man.
If this guy didn't reek with privilege, he would have never been able to play in the game an hour plus later.
I'm in the car. You gotta go before you get a ticket.
Hey,
I'm not in the car. Who's the driver?
This is where I question the one officer that's coming up, and this is officer from the body cam 1. I don't like the way he handled this situation. However, this situation got added to the whole mix. One of the things you don't do is add people to the whole situation of an officer and a what is it called? A police stop. You just don't add people to it.
The cop heard the words, "They're beating on him," and the cop got a little angry.
Well, and when the guy was running up,
that cop been angry.
That wasn't great when he was running up on the cops. He was approaching quickly.
Right.
There's so many better ways to have handled this situation.
And Cash, I agree with you.
That cop been angry, bro. Plain and simple. That cop been angry, and he handled it wrong. Tyreek was
Why?
wrong, but so was them police. You just don't. You didn't read him his rights. Number one, before you put him in handcuffs, you didn't tell him he. Yeah, you do. If you're arresting somebody, yes, you do.
He's not arrested. He's being detained.
Detained is
And
not
you
arrested.
do not have to read them their rights when they're being detained.
If they were to put him in the back of the cop car, then you have to read his rights.
Correct.
You can't just open up somebody's car door.
You can when you actually disobey, when he tells you to get out of the car and you're actually endangering the police officers is the situation.
I disagree.
You can't roll up tinted windows. There's all these laws that prevent people from doing exactly that. Like
I'm not for that.
So what would you have suggested that he do, Cash?
I mean,
just let him go, let the window stay shut.
Say, listen, you're gonna we're gonna put you in cuffs if you don't open up this door.
Well,
we pulled you over for a traffic stop.
We're gonna break the glass. He goes, we'll break the glass. And I think in the back of his head, this is a cop that doesn't want to break a $600,000 car's glass either.
Nah.
I cannot see an iota of wrong in this specifically this police officer, period.
Gosh, I mean, I do see your point. Like, that, you know, it could have said, if you don't open the car door now, we will handcuff you. And, you know, I mean, he was saying, open the door. But like you said.
Yeah, but for what? If a police officer tells me to open my door, I don't have to open my door. I do not have to. What are you stopping me for? What if you break my window, you won't get sued? What are you stopping me for?
Exactly.
Ask me for identification. Ask me for identification.
For breaking out the window, getting glass on him, whatever it is.
What did he say he was stopping him for? Did he tell him?
Speeding.
Speeding. He was
so that's a traffic violation. That's not against the law.
It's not, but not complying and having tinted windows and yelling at a cop, it absolutely is. The Miami PD are standing behind this guy. They probably won't forever because they're getting so much flack by fucking morons.
I'm gonna show you a video. I'm gonna show you a video of somebody getting pulled over and they cuss the cop out and the police don't open their door. None of that.
They should be arrested.
They just put you don't have to. If you put your identification up against the window and your registration up against the window, you don't have to hand your identification. And I'm not trying to be combative with the police. If it was me, I would have just rolled down the window, gave my stuff over, and we would have had a good day. We went about our business. But that's just me not wanting conflict. But you do not have to give them anything. You have to show them. And they can take a picture.
And his windows are too tinted. It's not
in
here.
His windows are not
with the way they pulled that man about the car like that, though. That wasn't cool. That's not the way you handle it. You don't throw him on and then come and push him down and then you muff him or your ears messed up.
His face never got pushed down. His face was laying on the ground. They put cuffs behind him. They never even armbarred him. They did nothing.
When they sat the man on the ground, when he sat him down, the other cop, the angry cop, come and pushed him, pushed his head.
Are you talking about when he was sitting?
Yeah.
Oh, when he went to go sit, he was refusing to sit. Now, if anything, he could have waited 10 seconds for him to sit down. That could be the only error in this police officer, in my opinion.
I think if
I just feel like that cop was an asshole. Tyreek's an asshole too. But that cop's an asshole. Now, I'm not talking about the cop that he was talking to originally. I'm talking about the second cop that came over all rah-rah.
Both cops were there the whole time.
Not the one that was just first talking at the window. The second one that came over angry.
The one Cash is talking about is this video, this body cam. This is the guy, and this is where. Oh, this is only 56 seconds. There's a 3-minute version.
You'll see the car going at least.
Yeah, this you at least see the car driving by, and then this
also a construction zone, by the way. Also a construction zone.
This cop also flips around, flies up to catch up to him. Tyreek slows down and he gets up next to him and says, "You're speeding, pull over," or something like that. We'll hear it. There's no audio here, so just give it a minute.
You'll see the car coming on the left side.
Yeah, it's definitely obvious.
And I don't think it's 100.
There you go. There you go.
Compared to the other cars in the actual, and I don't think it's 45 when there's a construction zone. So he's going double the speed limit. Look at how fast the cop has to accelerate to get up to him.
Yep. And then
he's already so it appears as though he sped up once he passed the cop.
Yeah, and then now he's getting pulled over. Oh, this one doesn't have audio.
Was there speeding? Go forward.
You know you're in the wrong. Just be like, my bad, I'm rushing to the game. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Instead, don't knock on my window.
Yeah. That's where Tyreek did everything. Started this.
I'm not saying he wasn't an asshole. He was an asshole, but I'm not gonna sit here and say the cops wasn't assholes.
If it wasn't Tyreek, it would have been a situation that we'd be watching like a George Floyd situation, because if it was a rich guy in a nice car, this could have spiraled into something very different. And now
I'm a Tyreek Hill fan.
Now kids are going to see this fucking idiot doing this, and they're going to be like, fuck that. If I get pulled over, I'm going to talk shit to the cop. He is a role model. And now he's going to get completely off for it. He got to play his game. And you know what happens to a kid in the middle of Hammond, Indiana that does this? He gets probably the shit beat out of him, or he gets shot, or he gets saved.
The police in Hammond, Indiana, we got good cops.
You know what I mean? I don't think this is a good or bad cop thing. I think that this is ridiculous.
I mean, I respect your opinion, but I disagree.
So, Cash, I see what you're saying. I think this cop could have done things differently. However, the general rule, we all know when we get pulled over, what do? We obey orders. We make sure our hands are visible. We can always roll down our window, and we listen to that. If that would have been done, and this entitled piece of garbage, Tyreek Hill, didn't be like, don't knock on my window like that, bro.
Why's he got to be a piece of garbage? He's not a piece of garbage. He might not like the poll. Listen, how do you know that? Hold on. How do you know that Tyreek Hill hasn't bought into the thing that the police officers are super racist and they want to kill him?
No, I can tell you why. Because I watch football and I know him as a player, and I also know a lot about his history because it's all over the internet. He is not a good human being.
Why did he get kicked off his college team? He beat the shit out of his pregnant girlfriend. He punched her in the stomach. He also broke a 3-year-old's arm.
I'm not saying that's cool at all.
Incredibly talented athlete. But this showing, and then to completely lie to people and essentially demonize the cop, and then also say he's going to use his platform for good, I don't swear, is bullshit. He even said the F word. Not that I give a shit about that, but he lied about that too. He's been a shitty person his whole career, which sucks because I really wanted to see him race.
He makes bad choices. He made some bad choices. I mean, I hope he loses all his games. I could say that. I hope that they lose.
He's too much of an athlete. There's no way.
I think the reason I get so heated about this is a repeated behavior. This is a modeled behavior. And I know that Free is in the comments saying, like, I agree with Cash and, illegal pulling over and all that stuff. But when you have blatant body camera that people are standing behind Tyreek on this one, it creates an air of danger. This mentality kills young black men. If you want my choice, if you want my opinion, this is what is killing young black men with police officers, because they think that they are going to get harassed. When in all reality, if he wouldn't have been a dickhead, it would have been over. He probably wouldn't have even got a fucking ticket.
I don't think that this is what's killing young black men. I'm not going to say that. I'm going to say some people get killed because there's asshole police officers, and sometimes good police officers kill asshole people. That's what I'm going to say. It's not, this is why young black men. No, it's not that. Police also need to understand their limitations. And a traffic stop, it's an infraction. It's not against the law. It's an infraction. It's an ordinance.
So just listen to the police officer when you're going. Technically, it's reckless driving. It's not a speeding ticket because you're going probably double over in a construction zone. So I don't know exactly what the law says on that one. And Free, I agree. Football players should not make your top 100 for role models. But
facts.
But there's very few.
But I live in the real world, and that's what happens. I can't help that Timmy in South Florida is just in love with Tyreek Hill and thinks he's the shit. That's not me. I agree. It's bullshit, but this is the fact of life. And yes, I do think that this has an effect on young black males.
I agree. I agree. And when he goes to the media after his game, and this is the reason why I think it was Miami police. It could have been Highway Patrol. I'm not sure. But this is why he goes into the media and he's like, oh, I don't know why I was put in cuffs. You were literally told exactly why you were being pulled out of that car and being put in cuffs.
He got brain damage,
his friends
bro.
Didn't help the issue.
He's been tackled how many times?
So you're saying he has
He's
CTE?
Got memory loss. Everyone knows this.
Okay, we're going to blame it on CTE. All right,
Emily, what's your last thought on this?
I mean, I unfortunately have had my fair share of being pulled over by the police, and I have one traffic stop where I was in Oklahoma carrying the gun illegally in Oklahoma. I carry a gun everywhere. You conceal carry in Texas. You're supposed to open carry in Oklahoma. I get pulled over for honestly not a good reason. I pulled in to turn around at a place that had some thefts. they really shouldn't have pulled me over, but they did. And what did I do? I didn't sit there and argue and say, oh, I don't have to roll down my window. Here's my license. I don't have to answer. I just complied. They checked my gun. They said, really, they kind of tried to scare me. Really, we should be confiscating your gun and booking you a court date. But because I complied and I was very polite, nothing happened. They let me go with a verbal warning. I just comply. Like, this is not the situation to take a stand on. I'm all for freedom, and maybe if they came to my house, it'd be a different story. But if I'm getting pulled over and I know I did something wrong, just comply. Just do what they ask. I
just want to throw out there. Miami police has a shit ton of complaints. Miami police, they got a lot of shitty police in Miami. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. You ask anybody from Miami, them police are not trustworthy.
I'm not going to disagree, but I'm also not going to fully agree. You ever gone to Miami?
No.
It's a rough culture, bro.
Yeah.
It is a rough culture.
I'm not going down there a whole bunch of damn Haitians. I'm straight.
It is a shit-talking culture that doesn't know how to watch their mouth. And I am being dead serious. So I can see why there's probably so many complaints just like this. Now, do I know for a fact? Absolutely not. But I can tell you, Miami's a different fucking world, bro.
I agree. That's why I don't want to go there. And also, he was not resisting arrest because there was no arrest made. He was just not listening to the officer. There was no resisting arrest. It's exactly what I mean. I don't know. Maybe I know too much about my rights. That's all. I don't know.
No, this is where Free and I didn't get an argument on X. Like, I understand exactly where you guys are coming from. My issue is if Tyreek Hill would have just let this thing and just handed his driver's license, moved on like a normal human being, he wouldn't have had to worry about anything. But because he had to be like, don't knock on my window, bro. Like, all of that shit and that cocky ass attitude that he had. None of this would have happened. None of it. I have had some decent back and forth with an officer on the side of the road. I've said this before. You don't take it up with the officer on the side of the road. You take it to the courtroom. That is where you deal with the confrontation. But I've had a back and forth politely with a police officer over tint on my windshield. And you can do that. But with his cocky ass attitude, there was no way he was going to have a conversation. He was just being arrogant.
Well, yeah. All right, so we've got a couple minutes before the show starts. Really quick, Emily, I know you and I have gone back and forth on this. Not all of it's true, but there is an actual element of there was a Haitian that killed a young boy a little less than a year ago. There has been geese being abducted. Now, what we have from people that are our followers that have reached out directly that live in Springfield, Ohio, livestock has been beheaded. They found pigs, and it's been happening for a while, but they couldn't put their finger on it until they're starting to see some of these Haitians walking up the street with geese. So the cat thing, I love when people go, that cat thing is not true. Even though there's a video that was not in Springfield, that was in Canton, Ohio, and the woman was high on drugs. Was she Haitian? Yes. Was she eating a neighbor's cat? Yes. Did she get arrested? Yes. This is real. This is not a fucking right-wing, like, Russian misinformation point.
Yeah, but is it a Haitian thing? Or we just happen to get
all Haitian, the pictures I've seen?
No, I know. But is what I'm saying is I'm pretty sure most Haitians don't eat cats.
No, they don't. But I mean, we have Barbecue, who's now running Haiti, that him and his now, okay, people were saying, oh, they're a gang of cannibals. I don't think they go around eating people, but they have engaged in cannibalism from time to time. So calling them cannibals, I don't think would be inaccurate. So I don't know the people that have come over. I think they said what was 100,000 that they gave asylum to. I don't know if they're eating cats and dogs over there. And honestly, I would give them a little grace if they were. I don't think Haiti's a good place to live. So if that's what they have to do to survive, so be it. But
not in the States. You have to acclimate. And that's why a lot of people are like, I know a lot of good Haitians. I go, yeah, and I know there is. But those Haitians have been here for a while. They've acclimated. These are new.
We're running out of time, FYI.
I know. Go ahead and get it ready. And ultimately, they have This is a whole new crowd of them that don't speak English. Their accident rates are through the roof. The insurance for the people living there is through the roof. This is factual stuff. And maybe the cat was a distraction, but there is animals this is happening to. But ultimately, on top of that, they're making the area more dangerous. There's 20,000 people in a town that has 58,000 that have created the influx. It's a serious problem. And the left has found a way to manipulate the media to say, these crazy Republicans are making shit up. Now, could there be embellishment going on because we don't know fully? Absolutely. But there is still a massive migrant problem. And all of these migrants, how do they have houses? How do they have apartments? They're making between $600 and $1,600 per person to be there. So that's 20,000 people that they're paying in this city specifically. It's fucking insane.
That's pretty cool.
While he's getting the screen up, it's about time to start. Please, God, let Trump actually have some temperament. Go to wakenotwokestore.com. Use truth for 20% off. For not feeling good, I'm doing all right.
I think it's all just an excuse for you to not go live with me when I want you to go live with me.
I wish I could quit everything.
I'm loving it. I do. I really love this. Straight up. I love doing this, bro. I love you too, Russo.
I'm having fun with you guys.
That's what I'm talking about, Emily. You're all right. Emily, if you ever want to go live with me, you're more than welcome to, because these guys they suck.
Can you guys hear this?
Yes, we can.
It's just about 9 o'clock Eastern in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Can we watch it on C-SPAN or is it only ABC?
And a key battleground state where former President Donald Trump.
I just pulled up Fox.
First time with Vice President Kamala Harris. First time these two are meeting. It's in a debate hosted by ABC News and simulcast here on Fox. Harris officially took over the top of the Democratic ticket last month from President Joe Biden. Now, in that time, she has enjoyed gains in fundraising and in polling. She came off of a DNC.
We don't necessarily have to hear this if you guys don't want. I can keep.
What do you think is going to happen, Emily?
I mean, I think. Okay, so let me bring this up. I just saw a couple, posts on X about this, but that kind of some reports coming out that Kamala was preparing for the debate with like a Trump impersonator.
Trump impersonator dressed like Trump in a room with the same lights that they'll have there. And with the same way that he would respond. So an impersonator dressed the same distance apart, same lighting, and they were locked in a hotel for 5 days doing that.
And of course, not thinking about policy or anything like that. Just how do we, I saw something, it was like the bingo card that how many times is she going to say, I'm speaking, or I'm a woman, or convicted felon. I think she's just going to be pulling those kind of cards. And I just hope TWSYF has prepped Trump enough to kind of stick to policies and stick to facts. And I feel pretty good about what Trump's going to do, just how he's been on podcasts.
Yeah, how funny is that? How scared are you really? Think about it. You hired a little Trump to come and stand before you, and you got to really prep yourself. It's like, I'm so nervous right now. You're not him, but you sound like him. So Kamala, why are you talking like that? Put your black scent on. Oh, I know you. I'm so nervous right now. You coming in here like that, and how dare you? I bet you that was fun. I bet you she got the accent right. She's rehearsing. This was a rehearsal. She was rehearsing for the debate. I bet you she got all the questions already that they're going to be asked. I bet you she is ready.
I saw that it was Shane Gillis dressed up as Trump. That's who she hired.
Oh man!
In all reality, I just, it's going to be an unfair battle. I see that. By the way, Jesse Waters' lawyer is a Clinton fan. Oh look, are they going to shake? Oh, she went right in. They were practicing.
Notice her podium is so short.
Welcome to you both. Yeah. It's wonderful to have you. It's an honor to have you both here tonight.
Good evening. We are looking forward to a spirited and thoughtful debate.
So I want to begin tonight with the issue that voters repeatedly say is their number one issue, and that is the economy and the cost of living in this country. Vice President Harris, you and President Trump were elected 4 years ago, and your opponent on the stage here tonight often asks his supporters, are you better off than you were 4 years ago? When it comes to the economy, do you believe Americans are better off than they were 4 years ago?
So I was raised as a middle-class kid, and I am actually the only person on this stage who has a plan that is about lifting up the middle class and working people of America. I believe in the ambition, the aspirations, the dreams of the American people. And that is why I imagine and have actually a plan to build what I call an opportunity economy. Because here's the thing. We know that we have a shortage of homes and housing, and the cost of housing is too expensive for far too many people. We know that young families need support to raise their children, and
She's nervous.
on extending a tax cut for those families of $6,000, which is the largest child tax credit that we have given in a long time, so that those young families can afford to buy a crib, buy a car seat, buy clothes for their children. My passion, one of them, is small businesses. My mother raised my sister and me, but there was a woman who helped raise us. We call her our second mother. She was a small business owner. I love our small businesses. My plan is to give a $50,000 tax deduction to start up small businesses.
Shane answering the question.
Part of the backbone of America's economy. My opponent, on the other hand, his plan is to do what he has done before, which is to provide a tax cut for billionaires and big corporations, which will result in $5 trillion to America's deficit. My opponent has a plan that I call the Trump sales tax, which would be a 20% tax on everyday goods that you rely on to get through the month. Economists have said that Trump sales tax would actually result for middle-class families in about $4,000 more a year because of his policies and his ideas about what should be the backs of middle-class people paying for tax cuts for billionaires.
President Trump, I'll give you 2 minutes.
First of all, I have no sales tax. That's an incorrect statement. She knows that. We're doing tariffs on other countries. Other countries are going to finally, after 75 years, pay us back for all that we've done for the world. And the tariff will be substantial in some cases. I took in billions and billions of dollars, as you know, from China. In fact, they never took the tariff off because it was so much money they can't. It would totally destroy everything that they've set out to do. They're taking in billions of dollars from China and other places. They've left the tariffs on. When I had it, I had tariffs, and yet I had no inflation. Look, we've had a terrible economy because inflation which is really known as a country buster. It breaks up countries. We have inflation like very few people have ever seen before, probably the worst in our nation's history. We were at 21%, but that's being generous because many things are 50, 60, 70, and 80% higher than they were just a few years ago. This has been a disaster for people, for the middle class, but for every class. On top of that, we have millions of people pouring into our country from prisons and jails, from mental institutions and insane asylums, and they're coming in and they're taking jobs that are occupied right now by African Americans and Hispanics, and also unions. Unions are going to be affected very soon. And you see what's happening. You see what's happening with towns throughout the United States. You look at Springfield, Ohio. You look at Aurora in Colorado. They are taking over the towns. They're taking over buildings. They're going in violently. These are the people that Xi and Biden led into our country, and they're destroying our country. They're dangerous. They're at the highest level of criminality, and we have to get them out. We have to get them out fast. I created one of the greatest economies in the history of our country. I'll do it again and even better.
We are going to
go
in border security during this debate.
Well answered. Versus
like
Kamala.
Vice President Harris respond on the economy here.
Well, I would love to. Let's talk about what Donald Trump left us. Donald Trump left us the worst unemployment since the Great Depression. Donald Trump left us the worst public health epidemic in a century. Donald Trump left us the worst attack on our democracy since the Civil War. And what we have done
since the Civil War, you fuck.
What we have done and what I intend to do is build on what we know are the aspirations.
She's trying to attack
American people. But I'm going to tell you all in this debate tonight, you're going to hear from the same old tired playbook, a bunch of lies, grievances, and name calling. What you're going to hear tonight is a detailed and dangerous plan called Project 2025.
Here we go.
Intends on implementing if he were elected again.
Yep.
I believe very strongly that the American people want a president who understands the importance of bringing us together, knowing we have so much more in common than what separates us. And I pledge to you to be a president for all Americans.
President Trump will give you a minute here to respond.
Number one, I have nothing to do, as you know, and as she knows better than anyone, I have nothing to do with Project 2025. That's out there. I haven't read it. I don't want to read it purposely. I'm not going to read it. This was a group of people that got together. They came up with some ideas, I guess some good, some bad, but it makes no difference. I have nothing to do. Everybody knows I'm an open book. Everybody knows what I'm going to do. Cut taxes very substantially and create a great economy like I did before. We had the greatest economy. We got hit with a pandemic, and the pandemic was not since 1917, where 100 million people died. Has there been anything like it? We did a phenomenal job with the pandemic. We handed them over a country where the economy and where the stock market was higher than it was before the pandemic came in. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. We made ventilators for the entire world. We got gowns, we got masks, we did things that nobody thought possible. And people give me credit for rebuilding the military. They give me credit for a lot of things, but not enough credit for the great job we did with the pandemic. But the only jobs they got were bounce back jobs. These were jobs bounce back, and it bounced back and it went to their benefit. But I was the one that created them. They know it, and so does everybody else.
Vice President Harris, I'll let you respond.
So Donald Trump has no plan for you. And
Look at
when
this.
you look at his economic plan, it's all about tax breaks for the richest people. I am offering what I describe as an opportunity economy, and the best economists in our country, if not the world, have reviewed our relative plans for the future of America. What Goldman Sachs has said is that Donald Trump's plan would make the economy worse. Mine would strengthen the economy. What the Wharton School has said is Donald Trump's plan would actually explode the deficit. 16 Nobel laureates have described his economic plan as something that would increase inflation and by the middle of next year would invite a recession. You just have to look at where we are and where we stand on the issues. And I'd invite you to know that Donald Trump actually has no plan for you because he is more interested in defending himself than he is in looking out for you.
Says the woman with no plan.
Yeah.
I went to the Wharton School of Finance, and many of those professors, the top professors, think my plan is a brilliant plan. It's a great plan. It's a plan that's going to bring up our worth, our value as a country. It's going to make people want to be able to go and work and create jobs and create a lot of good, solid money for our country. And just to finish off, she doesn't have a plan. She copied Biden's plan, and it's like 4 sentences, like run, spot, run. 4 sentences that are just, oh, we'll try and lower taxes. She doesn't have a plan. Take a look at her plan. She doesn't have a plan.
Mr. President, I do want to drill down on
Like,
something you
how is
brought up.
Goldman
The
Sachs
Vice
something
President
that you
brought
want to
up
reference? Does
tariffs.
anybody
You
trust them?
responded, and let's
No
drill
one
down
does.
on this, because your plan is what she calls is essentially a national sales tax. Your proposal calls for tariffs, as you pointed out here, on foreign imports across the board. You recently said that you might double your plan, imposing tariffs up to 20% on goods coming into this country. As you know, many economists say that with tariffs at that level, costs are then passed on to the consumer. Vice President Harris has argued it'll mean higher prices on gas, food, clothing, medication, arguing it costs the typical family nearly $4,000 a year. Do you believe Americans can afford higher prices because of tariffs?
They're not going to have higher prices. What's going to have, and who's going to have higher prices, is China and all of the countries that have been ripping us off for years. I was the only president ever. China was paying us hundreds of billions of dollars, and so were other countries. And, you know, if she doesn't like them, they should have gone out and they should have immediately cut the tariffs. But those tariffs are there 3.5 years now under their administration. We are going to take in billions of dollars, hundreds of billions of dollars. I had no inflation, virtually no inflation. They had the highest inflation perhaps in the history of our country. Because
Look at the
I've
panic
never
on her
seen a worse
face.
period of time. People can't go out and buy cereal or bacon or eggs or anything else. The people of our country are absolutely dying with what they've done. They've destroyed the economy. And all you have to do is look at a poll. The polls say 80 and 85 and even 90% that the Trump economy was great, that their economy was terrible.
Vice President Harris, I do want to ask for your response, and you heard what the president said there, because the Biden administration did keep a number of the Trump tariffs in place. So how do you respond?
Well, let's be clear that the Trump administration resulted in a trade deficit, one of the highest we've ever seen in the history of America. He invited trade wars. You want to talk about his deal with China? What he ended up doing is, under Donald Trump's presidency, he ended up selling American chips to China to help them improve and modernize their military, basically sold us out, when a policy about China should be in making sure the United States of America wins the competition for the 21st century, which means
It's good for our chips to be there.
Requires focusing on relationships with our allies, focusing on investing in American-based technology so that we win the race on AI, on quantum computing, focusing on what we need to do to support America's workforce so that we don't end up having on the short end of the stick in terms of workers' rights. But what Donald Trump did, let's talk about this, with COVID, is he actually thanked President Xi for what he did during COVID. Look at his tweet. Thank you, President Xi, exclamation
Trump
point.
is called
They sent us PPE.
Was responsible for lacking and not giving us transparency about the origins of COVID.
President Trump, I'll let you respond.
First of all, they bought their chips from Taiwan. We hardly make chips anymore because of philosophies like they have and policies like they have. I don't say her because she has no policy. Everything that she believed 3 years ago and 4 years ago is out the window. She's going to my philosophy now. In fact, I was going to send her a MAGA hat. She's got a philosophy, but if she ever got elected, she'd change it. And it will.
She even laughed.
Marxist. Everybody knows she's a Marxist. Her father's a Marxist professor in economics, and he taught her well. But when you look at what she's done to our country, and when you look at these millions and millions of people that are pouring into our country monthly, where it's, I believe, 21 million people, not the 15 that people say, and I think it's a lot higher than the 21. That's bigger than New York State pouring in. And just look at what they're doing to our country. They're criminals. Many of these people coming in are criminals. And that's bad for our economy, too. You know, you mentioned before, we'll talk about immigration later. Well, bad immigration is the worst thing that can happen to our economy. They have, and she has, destroyed our country with policy that's insane. Almost policy that you'd say they have to hate our country.
President Trump, thank you. Lindsay?
I want to turn to the issue of abortion. President Trump, you've often touted that you were able to kill Roe v. Wade. Last year, you said that you were proud to be the most pro-life president in American history. Then last month, you said that your administration would be great for women and their reproductive rights. In your home state of Florida, you surprised many with regard to your 6-week abortion ban because you initially had said that it was too short. And you said, quote, I'm going to be voting that we need more than 6 weeks. But then the very next day, you reversed course and said you would vote to support the 6-week ban. Vice President Harris says that women shouldn't trust you on the issue of abortion because you've changed your position so many times. Therefore, why should they trust you?
Well, the reason I'm doing that vote is because the plan is, as you know, the vote is, they have abortion in the 9th month. They even have, and you can look at the governor of West Virginia, the previous governor of West Virginia, not the current governor, is doing an excellent job, but the governor before, he said the baby will be born and we will decide what to do with the baby. In other words, we'll execute the baby. And that's why I did that, because that predominates, because they're radical. The Democrats are radical in that. And her vice presidential pick, which I think was a horrible pick, by the way, for our country, because he is really out of it. But her vice presidential pick says abortion in the 9th month is absolutely fine. He also says execution after birth. It's execution, no longer abortion, because the baby is born, is okay. And that's not okay with me, hence the vote. But what I did is something for 52 years. They've been trying to get Roe v. Wade into the states. And through the genius and heart and strength of 6 Supreme Court justices, we were able to do that. Now, I believe in the exceptions for rape, incest, and life of the mother. I believe strongly in it. Ronald Reagan did also. 85% of Republicans do. Exceptions, very important. But we were able to get it, and now states are voting on it. And for the first time, you're going to see, look, this is an issue that's torn our country apart for 52 years. Every legal scholar, every Democrat, every Republican, liberal, conservative, they all wanted this issue to be brought back to the states where the people could vote. And that's what happened. Now, Ohio, the vote was somewhat liberal. Kansas, the vote was somewhat liberal, much more liberal than people would have thought. But each individual state is voting. It's the vote of the people now. It's not tied up in the federal government. I did a great
not
session
totally true.
doing it. It took courage to do it. And the Supreme
Take
Court
the
had
rights
great
away from the
courage in doing it.
government, from the
And I
governors.
give tremendous credit to those 6 justices.
There is no state in this country where it is legal to kill a baby after it's born. Madam Vice President, I want to get your response to President Trump.
Well, as I said, you're going to hear a bunch of lies, and that's not actually a surprising fact.
He didn't say it was legal. He said it's on the ballot.
Yeah.
Donald Trump hand-selected 3 members of the United States Supreme Court with the intention that they would undo the protections of Roe v. Wade. And they did exactly as he intended. And now in over 20 states, there are Trump abortion bans, which make it criminal for a doctor or nurse to provide health care. In one state, it provides prison for life. Trump abortion bans that make no exception even for rape and incest, which understand what that means.
So then how is it a Trump
crime of violation to their body does not have the right to make a decision about what happens to their body next. That is immoral. And one does not have to abandon their faith or deeply held beliefs to agree. The government, and Donald Trump certainly, should not be telling a woman what to do with her body. I have talked with women around our country. You want to talk about this is what people wanted? Pregnant women who want to carry a pregnancy to term, suffering from a miscarriage, being denied care in an emergency room because the healthcare providers are afraid they might go to jail, and she's bleeding out in a car in the parking lot. She didn't want that. Her husband didn't want that. A 12 or 13-year-old survivor of incest being forced to carry a pregnancy to term.
He just said exceptions.
And I pledge to you, when Congress passes a bill to put back in place the protections of Roe v. Wade, as President of the United States, I will proudly sign it into law. But understand, if Donald Trump were to be reelected, he will sign a national abortion ban. Understand, in his Project 2025, there would be a national abortion, a monitor that would be monitoring your pregnancies, your miscarriages. I think the American people believe that certain freedoms, in particular the freedom to make decisions about one's own body, should not be made by the government.
Thank you, Vice President Harris.
Well, there she goes again. It's a lie. I'm not signing a ban, and there's no reason to sign a ban because we've gotten what everyone wanted. Democrats, Republicans, and everybody else, and every legal scholar wanted it to be brought back into the states, and the states are voting. And it may take a little time, but for 52 years, this issue has torn our country apart. And they've wanted it back in the states. And I did something that nobody thought was possible. The states are now voting. What she
should reference Ruth Bader Ginsburg in a being bad law.
And as far as the abortion ban, no, I'm not in favor of abortion ban, but it doesn't matter because this issue has now been taken over by the states.
Would you veto a national abortion ban if it came
Well,
to
I
your
won't
desk?
have to because, again, 2 things. Number one, she said she'll go back to Congress. She'll never get the vote. It's impossible for her to get the vote, especially now with the 50-50 and essentially 50-50 in both Senate and the House. She's not going to get the vote. She can't get the vote. She won't even come close to it. So it's just talk. You know what it reminds me of when they said they're going to get student loans terminated, and it ended up being a total catastrophe. The student loans, and then her, I think probably her boss, if you call him a boss, he spends all his time on the beach. But look, her boss went out and said, we'll do it again. We'll do it a different way. And he went out, got rejected again by the Supreme Court. So all these students got taunted with this whole thing about this whole idea and how unfair that would have been. Part of the reason they lost to the millions and millions of people that had to pay off their student loans. They didn't get it for free, but they were saying it's the same way that they talked about that they talk about abortion.
But if I could just get a yes or no, because your running mate, J.D. Vance, has said that you would veto it if it did come to your desk.
Well, I didn't discuss it with J.D. In all fairness, J.D. And I don't mind if he has a certain view, but I think he was speaking for me, but I really didn't. Look, we don't have to discuss it because she'd never be able to get it, just like she couldn't get student loans. They couldn't get student loans. They didn't even come close to getting student loans. They taunted young people and a lot of other people that had loans. They can never get this approved. So it doesn't matter what she says about going to Congress. So wonderful. Let's go to Congress, do it. But the fact is that for years, they wanted to get it out of Congress and out of the federal government. And we did something that everybody said couldn't be done. And now you have a vote of the people on abortion.
Vice President Harris, want to give you your time to respond, but I do want to ask, would you support any restrictions on a woman's right to an abortion?
I absolutely support reinstating the protections of Roe v. Wade. And as you rightly mentioned, nowhere in America is a woman carrying a pregnancy to term and asking for an abortion. That is not happening. It's insulting to the women of America. And understand what has been happening under Donald Trump's abortion bans. Couples who pray and dream of having a family are being denied IVF treatments. What is happening in our country? Working people, working women who are working 1 or 2 jobs, who can barely afford childcare as it is, have to travel to another state to get on a plane sitting next to strangers, to go and get the health care she needs, barely can afford to do it. And what you are putting her through is unconscionable. And the people of America have not, the majority of Americans believe in a woman's right to make decisions about her own body. And that is why in every state where this issue has been on the ballot, in red and blue states both, the people of America have voted for freedom.
Vice President Harris,
Excuse me, I have to respond. Another lie. It's another lie. I have been a leader on IVF, which is fertilization. The IVF, I have been a leader. In fact, when they got a very negative decision on IVF from the Alabama courts, I saw the people of Alabama and the legislature 2 days later voted it in. I've been a leader on it. They know that, and everybody else knows it. I have been a leader on fertilization, IVF. And the other thing, you should ask, will she allow abortion in the 8th month, 9th month, 7th month?
Come on.
Okay, would you do that? Why don't you ask her that question?
Why don't you answer the question? Would you
because
veto?
under Roe v.
Answer
Wade,
the question, would you veto?
you could do abortions in the 7th month, the 8th month, the 9th
That's
month,
not true.
and probably after birth. Just look at the governor, former governor of Virginia. The governor of Virginia said, we put the baby aside and then we determine what we want to do with the baby.
President Trump, thank you.
We're going to turn now to immigration and border security. We know it's an issue that's important to Republicans.
Upside, she wouldn't answer that.
Yeah.
In this country. Vice President Harris, you were tasked by President Biden with getting to the root causes of migration from Central America. We know that illegal border crossings reached a record high in the Biden administration. This past June, President Biden imposed tough new asylum restrictions. We know the numbers since then have dropped significantly. But my
No, they
question
haven't.
tonight is, why did the administration wait until 6 months before the election to act? And would you have done anything differently from President Biden on this?
So I'm the only person on this stage who has prosecuted transnational criminal organizations for the trafficking of guns, drugs, and human beings. And let me say that the United States Congress, including some of the most conservative members of the United States Senate, came up with a border security bill, which I supported. And that bill would have put 1,500 more border agents on the border to help those folks who are working there right now overtime, trying to do their job. It would have allowed us to stem the flow of fentanyl coming into the United States. I know there are so many families watching tonight who have been personally affected by the surge of fentanyl in our country. That bill would have put more resources to allow us to prosecute transnational criminal
Trump
organizations
should be able to nail this
for
one.
trafficking in guns, drugs, and human beings. But you know what happened to that bill? Donald Trump got on the phone, called up some folks in Congress, and said, kill the bill. And you know why? Because he'd prefer to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem. And understand, this comes at a time where the people of our country actually need a leader who engages in solutions, who actually addresses the problems at hand. But what we have in the former president is someone who would prefer to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem. And I'll tell you something, he's going to talk about immigration a lot tonight, even when it's not the subject that is being raised. And I'm going to actually do something really unusual, and I'm going to invite you to attend one of Donald Trump's rallies, because it's a really interesting thing to watch. You will see during the course of his rallies, he talks about fictional characters like Hannibal Lecter. He will talk about windmills cause cancer. And what you will also notice is that people start leaving his rallies early out of exhaustion and boredom. And I will tell you, the one thing you will not hear him talk about is you.
Unneeded personal
You will
attack.
not hear him talk about your needs,
Not a good
your
look on
dreams,
her.
and your desires. And I'll tell you, I believe you deserve a president who actually puts you first. And I pledge to you that I will.
Vice President Harris, thank you. President Trump, on that point, I want to get your response.
Well, I would like to respond.
Let me just ask, though, why
Trying
did
to bait him.
you that bill, and successfully so, that would have put thousands of additional agents and officers on the border?
First, let me respond as to the
Please.
rallies. She said people start leaving. People don't go to her rallies. There's no reason to go. And the people that do go, she's
Lay off of it.
and paying them to
Lay
be
off of it.
and then showing them in a different light.
She
So
planned
I
that.
can't talk about that. People don't leave my rallies. We have
Shut
to
up and answer the
rallies,
question.
most
She
incredible
got him.
rallies in the history of politics. That's because people want to take their country back. Our country is being lost. We're a failing nation. And it happened 3.5 years ago.
Answer the question.
What's going on here, you're going to end up in World War III, just to go into another subject. What they have done to our country by allowing these millions and millions of people to come into our country, and look at what's happening to the towns all over the United States. And a lot of towns don't want to talk. It's not going to be Aurora or Springfield. A lot of towns don't want to talk about it because they're so embarrassed by it. In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the pets of the people that live there. And this is what's happening in our country. And it's a shame. As far as rallies are concerned, as far as the reason they go is they like what I say. They want to bring our country back. They want to make America great again. It's a very simple phrase, make America great again. She's destroying this country. And if she becomes president, this country doesn't have a chance of success. Not only success, we'll end up being Venezuela on steroids.
I just want to clarify here. You bring up Springfield, Ohio, and ABC News did reach out to the city manager there. He told us there have been no credible reports of specific claims of pets being harmed, injured, or abused by individuals within the immigrant community.
Well, I've seen people on television.
Let me just say here, this is
the people on television say my dog was taken and used for food. So maybe he said that, and maybe that's a good thing to say for a city manager.
I'm not taking this from
but
television.
The people are on television saying their dog was eaten by the people that went there.
Again, the Springfield city manager says there's no evidence of that. Vice President Harris, I'll let you respond to the rest of it.
Lay off it, Trump. Come on.
We're talking about extreme. This is, I think, one of the reasons why in this election, I actually have the endorsement of 200 Republicans who have formerly worked with President Bush, Mitt Romney, and John McCain, including the endorsement of former Vice President Dick Cheney and Congress member Liz Cheney. And if you want to really know the inside track of who the former president is, if you didn't make it clear already, just ask people who have worked with him. His former chief of staff, a 4-star general.
You're thinking of John McCain. Dick Cheney's still alive.
The United States.
He's dead.
His former national security advisor has said he is dangerous and unfit. His former
Let's not forget Dick Cheney was the biggest warmonger in the history of the Republican
never
Party.
Survive another Trump term. And when we listen to this kind of rhetoric, when the issues that affect the American people are not being addressed, I think the choice is clear in this election.
President Trump, I'll give you a quick minute to respond here.
Thank you. Because when I hear that, see, I'm a different kind of a person. I fired most of those people. Not so graciously. They did bad things or a bad job. I fired them. They never fired one person. They didn't fire anybody having to do with Afghanistan and the Taliban and the 13 people who's were just killed, viciously and violently killed. And I got to know the parents and the family. They didn't fire. They should have fired all those generals, all those top people, because that was one of the most incompetently handled situations anybody has ever seen. So when somebody does a bad job, I fire him. And you take a guy like Esper, he was no good, I fired him. So he writes a book. Another one writes a book, because with me, they can write books. With nobody else can they? But they have done such a poor job, and they never fire anybody. Look at the economy. Look at the inflation. They didn't fire any of their economists. They have the same people. That's a good way not to have books written about you. But just to finish, I got more votes than any Republican in history by far. In fact, I got more votes than any president, sitting president in history by far.
Let me continue on immigration. It was what you wanted to talk about earlier. So let's get back to your deportation proposal that the vice president has reacted to as well. President Trump, you call this the largest domestic deportation operation in the history of our country. You say you would use the National Guard. You say if things get out of control, you'd have no problem using the U.S. military.
Police, yes.
You also said you would use local police. How would you deport 11 million undocumented immigrants? I know you believe that number is much higher. Take us through this. What does this look like? Will authorities be going door to door in this country?
Yeah, it is much higher because of them. They allowed criminals, many millions of criminals. They allowed terrorists. They allowed common street criminals. They allowed people to come in, drug dealers, to come into our country. And they're now in the United States and told by their countries like Venezuela, don't ever come back or we're going to kill you. Do you know that crime in Venezuela and crime in countries all over the world is way down? You know why? Because they've taken their criminals off the street and they've given them to her to put into our country. And this will be one of the greatest mistakes in history for them to allow. And I think they probably did it because they think they're going to get votes, but it's not worth it because they're destroying the fabric of our country by what they've done. There's never been anything done like this at all. They've destroyed the fabric of our country. Millions of people let in, and all over the world, crime is down all over the world except here. Crime here is up and through the roof. Despite their fraudulent statements that they made, crime in this country is through the roof. And we have a new form of crime. It's called migrant crime.
He needs to explain why they're manipulating the data. He needs to have a.
He's actually coming down in this country. But
excuse me, the FBI they were defrauding statements. They didn't include the worst cities. They didn't include the cities with the worst crime. It was a fraud. Just like their number of 818,000 jobs that they said they created turned out to be a fraud.
President Trump, thank you. I'll let you respond, Vice President Harris.
Well, I think this is so rich coming from someone who has been prosecuted for national security crimes, economic crimes, election interference, has been found liable for sexual assault, and his next big court appearance is in November at his own criminal sentencing. And let's be clear where each person stands on the issue of what is important about respect for the rule of law and respect for law enforcement. The former vice president called for defunding federal law enforcement, 45,000 agents, get this, on the day after he was arraigned on 34 felony counts. So let's talk about what is important in this race. It is important that we move forward, that we turn the page on this same old tired rhetoric and address the needs of the American people, address what we need to do about the housing shortage, which I have a plan for, address what we must do to support our small businesses, address bringing down the price of groceries. But frankly, the American people are exhausted with this same old tired playbook.
Vice President Harris, thank you.
Excuse me. Every one of those cases was started by them against their political opponent. And I'm winning most of them, and I will win the rest on appeal. And you saw that with the decision that came down just recently from the Supreme Court. I'm winning most of them. But those are cases, it's called weaponization. Never happened in this country. They weaponized the Justice Department. Every one of those cases was involved with the DOJ.
She done got in his head, bro. He's falling apart.
I know.
To the Attorney General of New York and the DA in New York, every one of those cases. And then they say, oh, he's a criminal. They're the ones that made them go after me. By the way, Joe Biden was found essentially guilty on the documents case. And what happened in my documents case? They said, oh, that's the toughest of them all. A complete and total victory. 2 months ago, it was thrown out. It's weaponization, and they used it, and it's never happened in this country. They used it to try and win an election. They're fake cases.
President Trump, thank you. A really quick response here, Vice President Harris, on this notion of weaponization of the Justice Department.
Well, let's talk about extreme and understand the context in which this election in 2024 is taking place. The United States Supreme Court recently ruled that the former president would essentially be immune from any misconduct if he were to enter the White House again. Understand, this is someone who has openly said he would terminate, I'm quoting, terminate the Constitution of the United States, that he would weaponize the Department of Justice against his political enemies. Someone who has openly expressed disdain for members of our military. Understand what it would mean if Donald Trump were back in the White House with no guardrails, because certainly we know now the court won't stop him. We know J.D. Vance is not going to stop him. It's up to the American people.
Vice President
stop
Harris,
him.
thank you. Lindsay?
Vice President Harris, in your last run for president.
This is the one that weaponized, not me. She weaponized. I probably took a bullet to the head because of the things that they say about me. They talk about democracy. I'm a threat to democracy. They're the threat to democracy with a fake Russia investigation
We do have a lot to
that
get-
went nowhere.
She's smiling now. She's confident because she got in his head.
Last run for president, you said you wanted to ban fracking. Now you don't. You wanted mandatory government buyback programs for assault weapons. Now your campaign says you don't. You supported decriminalizing border crossings. Now you're taking a harder line. I know you say that your values have not changed. So then why have so many of your policy positions changed?
So my values have not changed, and I'm going to discuss every one of the, at least every point that you've made. But in particular, let's talk about fracking because we're here in Pennsylvania. I made that very clear in 2020. I will not ban fracking. I have not banned fracking as Vice President of the United States. And in fact, I was the tie-breaking vote on the Inflation Reduction Act, which opened new leases for fracking. My position is that we have got to invest in diverse sources of energy so we reduce our reliance on foreign oil. We have had the largest increase in domestic oil production in history because of an approach that recognizes that we cannot over-rely on foreign oil. As it relates to my values, let me tell you, I grew up a middle-class kid raised by a hardworking mother who worked and saved and was able to buy our first home when I was a teenager. The values I bring to the importance of home ownership, knowing not everybody got handed $400 million on a silver platter and then filed bankruptcy 6 times, is a value that I bring to my work to say we are going to work with the private sector and home builders to increase 3 million homes, increase by 3 million homes by the end of my first term. My work that is related to having a friend when I was in high school who was sexually assaulted by her stepfather. And my focus then on protecting women and children from violent crime is based on a value that is deeply grounded in the importance of standing up for those who are most vulnerable. My work that is about protecting Social Security and Medicare is based on long-standing work that I have done, protecting seniors from scams. My values have not changed. And what is important is that there is a president who actually brings values and a perspective that is about lifting people up and not beating people down and name calling. The true measure of the leader is the leader who actually understands the strength is not in beating people down, it's in lifting people up. I intend to be that president.
President Trump, your
Well,
response?
first of all, I wasn't given $400 million. I wish I was. My father was a Brooklyn builder, Brooklyn, Queens, and a great father, and I learned a lot from him. But I was given a fraction of that, a tiny fraction, and I built it into many, many billions of dollars, many, many billions. And when people see it, they are even surprised. So we don't have to talk about that. Fracking, she's been against it for 12 years. Defund the police, she's been against that forever. She gave all that stuff up very wrongly, very horribly, and everybody's laughing at it, okay? They're all laughing at it. She gave up at least 12 and probably 14 or 15 different policies. Like, she was big on defund the police. In Minnesota, she went out, wait a minute, I'm talking now, if you don't mind, please. Does that sound familiar? She went out.
Okay, that's funny.
She went out in Minnesota and wanted to let criminals that killed people, that burned down Minneapolis, she went out and raised money to get them out of jail. She did things that nobody would ever think of. Now she wants to do transgender operations on illegal aliens that are in prison. This is a radical left liberal that would do this. She wants to confiscate your guns, and she will never allow fracking in Pennsylvania. If she won the election, Fracking in Pennsylvania will end on day one. Just to finish one thing, so important in my opinion. So I got the oil business going like nobody has ever done before. When they took over, they got rid of it, started getting rid of it, and the prices were going up the roof. They immediately let these guys go to where they were. I would have been 5 times, 4 times, 5 times higher, because you're talking about 3.5 years ago. They got it up to where I was because they had no choice, because the prices of energy were quadrupling and doubling. You saw what happened to gasoline. So they said, let's go back to Trump. But if she won the election, the day after that election, they'll go back to destroying our country, and oil will be dead. Fossil fuel will be dead. We'll go back to windmills, and we'll go back to solar, where they need a whole desert to get some energy to come out. You ever see a solar plant? By the way, I'm a big fan of solar, but they take 400, 500 acres of desert soil.
Trump, we have a
These
lot
are
of
not good
issues
things
that
for
we
the
have to get to.
environment, as
We're
she
out of time.
understands.
Thank you.
Lindsay, thank you. We have an election in just 56 days. And I want to talk about the peaceful transfer of power, which, of course, we all know is a cornerstone of our democracy, and the role of a president in a moment of crisis. Mr. President, on January 6th, you told your supporters to march to the Capitol. You said you would be right there with them. The country and the world saw what played out at the Capitol that day, the officers coming under attack. Aides in the West Wing say you watched it unfold on television off the Oval Office. You did send out tweets, but it was more than 2 hours before you sent out that video message telling your supporters to go home. Is there anything you regret about what you did on that day?
You just said a thing that isn't covered. Peacefully and patriotically, I said during my speech, not later on. Peacefully and patriotically. And nobody on the other side was killed. Ashley Babbitt was shot by an out-of-control police officer that should have never, ever shot her. It's a disgrace. But we didn't do this group of people that have been treated so badly. I ask, what about all the people that are pouring into our country and killing people that she allowed to pour in? She was the border czar. Remember that. She was the border czar. She doesn't want to be called the border czar because she's embarrassed by the border. In fact, she said at the beginning, oh, I'm surprised you're not talking about the border yet. That's because she knows what a bad job they've done. What about those people? When are they going to be prosecuted? When are these people from countries all over the world, not just South America, they're coming in from all over the world, David, all over the world, and crime rates are down all over the world because of it.
But let me just
when
ask
are those, David, when are those people going to be prosecuted? When are the people that burned down Minneapolis going to be prosecuted? Or in Seattle, they went into Seattle, they took over a big percentage of the city of Seattle. When are those people going to be prosecuted?
But let me just ask
you. You might ask her that question.
You were the president. You were watching it unfold on television. It's a very simple question as we move forward toward another election. Is there anything you regret about what you did on that day? Yes, sir.
I had nothing to do with that other than they asked me to make a speech. I showed up for a speech. I said, I think it's going to be big. I went to Nancy Pelosi and the mayor of Washington, D.C., and the mayor put it back in writing, as you know. I said, you know, this is going to be a very big rally or whatever you want to call it. And again, it wasn't done by me. It was done by others. I said, I'd like to give you 10,000 National Guard or soldiers. They rejected me. Nancy Pelosi rejected me. It was just 2 weeks ago, her daughter has a tape of her saying she is fully responsible for what happened. They want to get rid of that tape. It would have never happened if Nancy Pelosi and the mayor of Washington did their jobs. I wasn't responsible for security. Nancy Pelosi was responsible. She didn't do her job.
The question was about you as president, not about former Speaker Pelosi, but I do want Vice President Harris to respond here.
I was at the Capitol on January 6th. I was the vice president-elect. I was also an acting senator. I was there. And on that day, the president of the United States incited a violent mob to attack our nation's capital, to desecrate our nation's capital. On that day, 140 law enforcement officers were injured, and some died. And understand, the former president has been indicted and impeached for exactly that reason.
No police officers.
This is not an isolated situation. Let's remember Charlottesville, where there was a mob of people carrying tiki torches, spewing anti-Semitic hate. And what did the president then at the time say? There were fine people on each side. Let's remember that when it came to the Proud Boys, a militia,
Now, this is a mistake by
the
her.
president said, the former president said, stand back and stand by. So for everyone watching who remembers what January 6th was, I say we don't have to go back. Let's not go back. We're not going back. It's time to turn the page. And if that was a bridge too far for you, well, there is a place in our campaign for you to stand for country, to stand for our democracy, to stand for rule of law, and to end the chaos, and to end the approach that is about attacking the foundations of our democracy because you don't like the outcome. And be clear on that point. Donald Trump, the candidate, has said in this election there will be a bloodbath if this and the outcome of this election is not to his liking. Let's turn the page on this. Let's not go back. Let's chart a course for the future and not go backwards to the past.
Let me just follow up here.
It was a different term, and it was a term that related to energy because they have destroyed our energy business. That was where bloodbath was. Also, on Charlottesville, that story has been, as you would say, debunked. Laura Ingraham, Sean Hannity, Jesse, all of these people, they covered it. If they go an extra sentence, they will see it was perfect. It was debunked in almost every newspaper, but they still bring it up, just like they bring 2025 up. They bring all of this stuff up. I ask you this, you talk about the Capitol. Why are we allowing these millions of people to come through on the southern border? How come she's not doing anything? And I'll tell you what I would do, and I would be very proud to do it. I would say we would both leave this debate right now. I'd like to see her go down to Washington, D.C. during this debate because we're wasting a lot of time. Go down to, because she's been so bad, it's so ridiculous. Go down to Washington, D.C. and let her sign a bill to close up the border because they have the right to do it. They don't need bills. They have the right to do it. The president of the United States, you'll get him out of bed. You'll wake him up at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Right. You'll say, come on down to the office. Let's sign a bill. If he signs a bill that the border is closed, all he has to do is say it to the Border Patrol, who are phenomenal. If they do that, the border is closed.
Mr.
Those
President,
people are killing many people, unlike J6.
We talked immigration here tonight. I do want to focus on this next issue to both of you because it really brings us this into focus, truth in these times that we're living in. 3.5 years after you lost the 2020 election, you repeatedly falsely claimed that you won, many times saying you won in a landslide. In the past couple of weeks leading up to this debate, you have said, quote, you lost by a whisker, that you, quote, didn't quite make it, that you came up a little bit short.
I said that?
Are you now acknowowing that you lost in 2020?
No, I don't acknowledge that at all.
But
I
you
said
did
that
say
sarcastically.
That.
You know that. It was said, oh, we lost by a whisker. That was said sarcastically. Look, there's so much proof. All you have to do is look at it. And they should have sent it back to the legislatures for approval. I got almost 75 million votes, the most votes any sitting president has ever gotten. I got 63, which was what I got in 2016. You can't be beaten. The election, people should never be thinking about an election as fraudulent. We need two things. We need walls. And we have to have it. We have to have borders, and we have to have good elections. Our elections are bad. And a lot of these illegal immigrants coming in, they're trying to get them to vote. They can't even speak English. They don't even know what country they're in practically. And these people are trying to get them to vote. And that's why they're allowing them to come into our country.
I did watch all of these pieces of video. I didn't detect the sarcasm, lost by a whisker. We didn't quite make it. And we should just point out here as clarification, and you know this, you and your allies, 60 cases in front of many judges, many of them
No judge looked at it.
And said
they said we didn't have standing. That's the other thing. They said we didn't have standing, a technicality. Can you imagine a system where a person in an election doesn't have standing? The president of the United States doesn't have standing. That's how we lost. If you look at the facts, and I'd love to have you'll do a special on it. I'll show you Georgia, and I'll show you Wisconsin, and I'll show you Pennsylvania, and I'll show you. We have so many facts and statistics, but you know what? That doesn't matter because we have to solve the problem that we have right now. That's old news. And the problem that we have right now is we have a nation in decline, and they have put it into decline. We have a nation that is dying, David.
Mr. President, thank you. Vice President Harris, you heard the president there tonight. He said he didn't say that he lost by a whisker. So he still believes he did not lose the election that was won by President Biden and yourself. But I do want to ask you about something that's come up in the last couple of days. This was a post from President Trump about this upcoming election just weeks away. He said, when I win, those people who cheated, and then he lists donors, voters, election officials, he says will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law, which will include long-term prison sentences. One of your campaign's top lawyers responded saying, we won't let Donald Trump intimidate us. We won't let him suppress the vote. Is that what you believe he's trying to do here?
Donald Trump was fired by 81 million people. So let's be clear about that. And clearly he is having a very difficult time processing that. But we cannot afford to have a president of the United States who attempts, as he did in the past, to upend the will of the voters in a free and fair election. And I'm going to tell you that I have traveled the world as Vice President of the United States, and world leaders are laughing at Donald Trump.
That's a lie.
I have talked with military leaders, some of whom worked with you, and they say you're a disgrace. And when you then talk in this way in a presidential debate and deny what over and over again are court cases you have lost because you did in fact lose that election, it leads one to believe that perhaps we do not have in the candidate to my right the temperament or the ability to not be confused about fact. That's deeply troubling, and the American people deserve better.
I'll give you 1 minute to respond, Mr. President.
Let me just say about world leaders. Viktor Orban, one of the most respected men, they call him a strong man. He's a tough person, smart. Prime Minister of Hungary. They said, why is the whole world blowing up? 3 years ago, it wasn't. Why is it blowing up? He said, because you need Trump back as president. They were afraid of him. China was afraid, and I don't like to use the word afraid, but I'm just quoting him. China was afraid of him. North Korea was afraid of him. Look at what's going on with North Korea, by the way. He said Russia was afraid of him. I ended the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, and Biden put it back on day one, but he ended the XL pipeline. The XL pipeline in our country, he ended that. But he let the Russians build a pipeline going all over Europe and heading into Germany, the biggest pipeline in the world. Look, Viktor Orban said it. He said the most respected, most feared person is Donald Trump. We had no problems when Trump was president. But when this weak, pathetic man that you saw at a debate just a few months ago, that if he weren't in that debate, he'd be running instead of her. She got no votes. He got 14 million votes. What you did, you talk about a threat to democracy. He got 14 million votes, and they threw him out of office. And you know what? I'll give you a little secret. He hates her. He can't stand her. But he got 14 million votes. They threw him out. She got 0 votes. And when she ran, she was the first one to leave because she failed. And now she's running. I don't understand it, but I'm okay with it because
your time is up.
I think we're going to do very well.
We've got a lot more to get to.
Turning now to
Moderators are awful.
the hostages who are still being held, Americans among them. Vice President Harris, in December, you said, quote, Israel has a right to defend itself, but you added, quote, it matters how, saying international humanitarian law must be respected. Israel must do more to protect innocent civilians. You said that 9 months ago. Now an estimated 40,000 Palestinians are dead. Nearly 100 hostages remain. Just last week, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said there's not a deal in the making. President Biden has not been able to break through the stalemate. How would you do it?
Well, let's understand how we got here. On October 7, Hamas, a terrorist organization, slaughtered 1,200 Israelis. Many of them young people who were simply attending a concert. Women were horribly raped. And so absolutely, I said then, I say now, Israel has a right to defend itself. We would. And how it does so matters, because it is also true, far too many innocent Palestinians have been killed. Children, mothers. What we know is that this war must end. It must end immediately, and the way it will end is we need a ceasefire deal and we need the hostages out. And so we will continue to work around the clock on that. Work around the clock, also understanding that we must chart a course for a two-state solution. And in that solution, there must be security for the Israeli people and Israel, and in equal measure for the Palestinians. But the one thing I will assure you always, I will always give Israel the ability to defend itself, in particular as it relates to Iran and any threat that Iran and its proxies pose to Israel. But we must have a two-state solution where we can rebuild Gaza, where the Palestinians have security, self-determination, and the dignity they so rightly deserve.
President Trump, how would you negotiate with Netanyahu and also Hamas in order to get the hostages out and prevent the killing of more innocent civilians in Gaza?
If I were president, it would have never started. If I were president, Russia would have never, ever, I know Putin very well, he would have never, and there was no threat of it either, by the way, for 4 years, have gone into Ukraine and killed millions of people when you add it up, far worse than people understand what's going on over there. But when she mentions about Israel, all of a sudden, she hates Israel. She wouldn't even meet with Netanyahu when he went to Congress to make a very important speech. She refused to be there because she was at a sorority party of hers. She wanted to go to the sorority party. She hates Israel. If she's president, I believe that Israel will not exist within 2 years from now. And I've been pretty good at predictions, and I hope I'm wrong about that one. She hates Israel. At the same time, in her own way, she hates the Arab population because the whole place is going to get blown up. Arabs, Jewish people, Israel will be gone. It would have never happened. Iran was broke under Donald Trump. Now Iran has $300 billion because they took off all the sanctions that I had. Iran had no money for Hamas or Hezbollah or any of the 28 different spheres of terror. And they are spheres of terror, horrible terror. They had no money. It was a big story, and you know it. You covered it very well, actually. They had no money for terror. They were broke. Now they're a rich nation. And now what they're doing is they're spreading that money around. Look at what's happening with the Houthis and Yemen. Look at what's going on in the Middle East. This would have never happened. I will get that settled and fast, and I'll get the war with Ukraine and Russia ended. If I'm president-elect, I'll get it done before even becoming president.
Vice President Harris, he says you hate Israel.
That's absolutely not true. I have my entire career and life supported Israel and the Israeli people. He knows that. He's trying to, again, divide and distract from the reality, which is it is very well known that Donald Trump is weak and wrong on national security and foreign policy. It is well known that he admires dictators, wants to be a dictator on day one, according to himself. It is well known that he said of Putin that he can do whatever the hell he wants and go into Ukraine. It is well known that he said when Russia went into Ukraine, it was brilliant. It is well known he exchanged love letters with Kim Jong-un. And it is absolutely well known that these dictators and autocrats are rooting for you to be president again because they're so clear they can manipulate you with flattery and favors. And that is why so many military leaders who you have worked with have told me you are a disgrace. That is
Gosh, it's not Emily's mic.
Whose is it?
We have to have
It's
a
Trump.
president who is not consistently weak and wrong on
Vice
national
President
security,
Harris.
including the importance of upholding and respecting in highly regard our military.
Vice President Harris, thank you.
And she's the one that caused it. That's weak on national security by allowing every nation last month for the year, 168 different countries sending people into our country. Their crime rates are way down. Putin endorsed her last week, said, I hope she wins. And I think he meant it because what he's gotten away with is absolutely incredible. It wouldn't have happened with me. The leaders of other countries think that they're weak and incompetent, and they are. They're grossly incompetent. And I just ask one question. Why does Biden go in and kill the Keystone Pipeline and approved the single biggest deal that Russia's ever made, Nord Stream 2, the biggest pipeline anywhere in the world going to Germany and all over
There
Europe.
we go.
Because they're weak and they're ineffective. And Biden, by the way,
President
gets paid
Trump,
a lot of money.
Thank you. We have a lot of issues to get to.
We'll be right back with much more of this historic ABC News presidential debate from the National.
Okay, good. I got some commentary I need to give right now. Right now.
Moderators are awful, but go for it, Cash.
Yo. So this is what happened right now, okay? Trump was doing phenomenal. But his ego got in the way as soon as they mentioned the rally. That's when it went downhill. He couldn't get past. When she started taking the assaults and you seen her tide turn, she started smiling because she knew she had him. And even though we know, this is the problem, we all know that she's lying. We all know that. All the Trump voters know this, but you're trying to appeal to the other side right now. So Trump, what you had to do was just stay calm, let her say the BS, and still just attack the policies and the lack of policies that they have implemented and have not even said that they're going to do in the next term. Attack that. Instead, you crumbled and you started talking about the rallies and how she's horrible and Haitians eating dogs and all that. You can't do that. You can't. How you going to appeal to anybody and let them know the truth? Even though what you're saying is true, you're not talking about what you're going to do. You're talking about what they are doing and what they have done and elections, and let it go and stick to the policy. He's picking himself back up right now, but man, tomorrow they're going to say that she won. They're going to have so many clips tomorrow.
There's nothing he can do right now to win this debate. All he can do is come out okay. Emily, what do you think?
I mean, I've been on X kind of scrolling through. I'm just seeing a lot from both sides about how biased the moderators are. So, I mean, as of right now, that's what I'm seeing is the biggest story is just, I mean, they're only fact checking him. They're not fact checking her. He's basically debating three people, which he needed to expect. He needed to keep his composure. But you guys are, I mean, Cash, you're right. She hit his ego. Obviously, she was coached to do that, and he crumbled. But I mean, it sounds like he's starting to rally. I hope he can do that, stick to the policies and not just be defending himself the whole time. But they set up the debate this way.
Yeah.
Man, if I didn't know Kamala, I swear to you, if I didn't know Kamala and know the bullshit and know all the BS, I promise you, I'd be like, yo, she is cooking right now. But I'm already hip to it. I see the bullshit. But if I didn't,
I can't believe the rally comment is what got him off path. And he had to answer that question. He missed on the abortion stuff. Casey, go ahead.
No, it's just he fell for it. They set him up. If you look at everything that they kept doing is a little jab, up the middle. Then all of a sudden a big right hook came as, oh, I'm going to take your rallies away from you. And I'm going to talk about your rallies. And that hurt him because guess what? He was shot at his rally. And so that hurt him. And so he's like, I got to stand my ground and I got to fight. And that is where Trump loses his mind, is his mouth ruins it for him. And I posted it in the comment on X, and everybody's saying Trump's winning. Guys,
he is winning. He's still winning it right now. For a moment, he lost.
I don't think he is doing very well at the moment. He has really hurt himself with this situation that his mouth won't stop.
Remember, this is not about the Kamala voters. This is not about the Trump voters. This is about the independents, and he's losing.
Exactly.
Right.
So yeah, technically he'd be losing then because like I say, for me, I know he's telling the truth. I know what he's saying is real, but other people don't. They think that he's like the comment. They think that he's just a liar. You know what I'm saying? They don't know none of the shit. They're going off of what they've been told. And this is what's going to happen tomorrow. This is what she said in the beginning. You're going to hear him say this and you're going to hear. And at first he didn't take the bait. And then here he is just falling right into it.
Why is he not articulating the court cases? He did okay with the Alvin Bragg thing, but then when it came to, he could have brought up Ruth Bader Ginsburg in terms of the bad law. He kept hammering on points that are questionable. There were so many things that he could have been. I mean, he could have done he did well with the Charlottesville. He did not do well with, what was one of the other ones? He did great with
immigration.
The Project 2025. He did well with that. The abortion was terrible. I mean, he could have answered it in so many ways, but he did get her at the end.
Right now, he just got her.
I wish he would have been able to stick with her on the 7, 8, and 9 month thing. And they, of course, did not call her on that part. But he could have also just said that I will not sign. It's the same thing that happened in the debate in 2020. Just say, no, I will not sign a federal abortion ban. That goes against everything that it's about Roe versus Wade.
All he needs to say is come out is what the Supreme Court said. This is not a constitution or a federal decision.
Exactly.
Like, it goes back to the states. It's not my decision, guys. And that's all he
And then-
needs to say.
And then the whole Joe hates her. That was stupid. There was no need for that. The insurrection, he could have answered that a little bit better. And ultimately, right back. There's a lot of fighting against him. That's the problem. But he definitely.
Don't you think she's starting to wear down though? Because to me, she seems like she's starting to.
A little bit. It would be. I thought Snuffle Up Against was supposed to be the guy.
Into this conflict. Mr. President, it has been the position of the Biden administration that we must defend Ukraine from Russia, from Vladimir Putin, to defend their sovereignty, their democracy, that it's in America's best interest to do so.
They are teeing the questions up to her and like guiding her into it, if you notice that.
You have said you would solve this war in 24 hours. You said so just before the break tonight. How exactly would you do that? And I want to ask you a very simple question tonight. Do you want Ukraine to win this war?
I want the war to stop. I want to save lives that are being people being killed by the millions. It's the millions. It's
He needs to bring up Afghanistan here.
And the numbers that you're getting, which are fake numbers. Look, we're in for 250 billion or more because they don't ask Europe, which is a much bigger beneficiary to getting this thing done than we are. They're in for $150 billion less because Biden and you don't have the courage to ask Europe like I did with NATO. They paid billions and billions, hundreds of billions of dollars when I said, either you pay up or we're not going to protect you anymore. So that's maybe one of the reasons they don't like me as much as they like weak people. But you take a look at what's happening. We're in for 250 to 275 billion. They're into 100 to 150. They should be forced to equalize. With that being said, I want to get the war settled. I know Zelensky very well, and I know Putin very well. I have a good relationship, and they respect your president, okay? They respect me. They don't respect Biden. How would you respect him? Why? For what reason? He hasn't even made a phone call in 2 years to Putin, hasn't spoken to anybody. They don't even try and get it. That is a war that's dying to be settled. I will get it settled before I even become president. If I win, when I'm president-elect, and what I'll do is I'll speak to one, I'll speak to the other, I'll get them together. That war would have never happened. And in fact, when I saw Putin after I left, unfortunately left because our country has gone to hell. But after I left, when I saw him building up soldiers, he did it after I left. I said, oh, he must be negotiating. It must be a good, strong point of negotiation. Well, it wasn't because Biden had no idea how to talk to him. He had no idea how to stop it. And now you have millions of people dead, and it's only getting worse, and it could lead to World War III. Don't kid yourself, David. We're playing with World War III, and we have a president that we don't even know if he's. Where is our president? We don't even know if he's a president.
And just to clarify
they
here,
threw him out of a campaign like a dog. We don't even know. Is he our president? But we have a president,
Mr. President,
that doesn't know he's alive.
Your time is up. Just to clarify in the question, do you believe it's in the U.S. best interest for Ukraine to win this war, yes or no?
I think it's the U.S. best interest to get this war finished and just get it done.
All right.
Negotiate a deal because we have to stop all of these human lives from being destroyed.
I want to take this to Vice President Harris. I want to get your
Ukraine
thoughts
can't win
on
the war.
support
It's
for
impossible.
Ukraine in this moment, but also as Commander-in-Chief, if elected, how would you deal with Vladimir Putin, and would it be any different from what we're seeing from President Biden?
Well, first of all, it's important to remind the former president, you're not running against Joe Biden, you're running against me. I believe the reason that Donald Trump says that this war would be over within 24 hours is because he would just give it up. And that's not who we are as Americans. Let's understand what happened here. I actually met with Zelensky a few days before Russia invaded, tried through force to change territorial boundaries, to defy one of the most important international rules and norms, which is the importance of sovereignty and territorial integrity. And I met with President Zelensky. I shared with him American intelligence about how he could defend himself. Days later, I went to NATO's eastern flank, to Poland and Romania. And through the work that I and others did, we brought 50 countries together to support Ukraine in its righteous defense. And because of our support, because of the air defense, the ammunition, the artillery, the javelins, the Abrams tanks that we have provided, Ukraine stands as an independent and free country. If Donald Trump were president, Putin would be sitting in Kyiv right now. And understand what that would mean, because Putin's agenda is not just about Ukraine. Understand why the European allies and our NATO allies are so thankful that you are no longer president, and that we understand the importance of the greatest military alliance the world has ever known, which is NATO, and what we have done to preserve the ability of Zelensky and the Ukrainians to fight for their independence. Otherwise, Putin would be sitting in Kyiv with his eyes on the rest of Europe, starting with Poland. And why don't you tell the 800,000 Polish Americans right here in Pennsylvania how quickly you would give up for the sake of favor and what you think is a friendship with what is known to be a dictator who would eat you for lunch.
Vice President Harris, thank you. We've heard from both of you on Ukraine tonight. Afghanistan came up in the last hour. I wanted her to respond to something you said earlier, and I'll give you a minute here.
Putin would be sitting in Moscow, and he wouldn't have lost 300,000 men and women, but he would have been sitting in Moscow. Quiet, please. He would have been sitting in Moscow, much happier than he is right now. But eventually, you know, he's got a thing that other people don't have. He's got nuclear weapons. They don't ever talk about that. He's got nuclear weapons. Nobody ever thinks about that. And eventually, maybe he'll use them, and maybe he hasn't been that threatening, but he does have that. Something we don't even like to talk about. Nobody likes to talk about it. But just so you understand, they sent her to negotiate peace before this war started. 3 days later, he went in and he started the war because everything they said was weak and stupid. They said the wrong things. That war should have never started. She was the emissary. They sent her in to negotiate with Zelensky and Putin, and she did. And the war started 3 days later. And that's the kind of talent we have.
I was actually hoping he was going to bring that up.
In my opinion, I think he's the worst president in the history of our country. She goes down as the worst vice president in the history of our country. But let me tell you something. She is a horrible negotiator. They sent her in to negotiate. As soon as they left, Putin did the invasion.
President Trump, thank you. You did bring up something. You said she went to negotiate with Vladimir Putin.
He did that one.
That was pretty solid.
Vladimir Putin, can you clarify tonight?
Yet again, I said it at the beginning of this debate, you're going to hear a bunch of lies coming from this fella. And that is another one. When I went to meet with President Zelensky, I've now met with him over 5 times. The reality is it has been about standing as America always should, as a leader upholding international rules and norms, as a leader who shows strength, understanding that the alliances we have around the world are dependent on our ability to look out for our friends and not favor our enemies because you adore strong men instead of caring about democracy. And that is very much what is at stake here. The President of the United States is commander-in-chief, and the American people have a right to rely on a president who understands the significance of America's role and responsibility in terms of ensuring that there is stability and ensuring we stand up for our principles and not sell them for the benefit of personal flattery.
We've talked about Ukraine and Vladimir Putin. I do want to talk about Afghanistan. It came up in the first hour of this debate. I want to move on to Afghanistan.
Said Trump did the most amazing thing I've ever seen. He got these countries, the 28 countries at the time, to pay up. He said, I've never seen, he's the head of NATO. He said, I've never seen. For years, we were paying almost all of NATO. We were being ripped off by European nations, both on trade and on NATO. I got them to pay up by saying one of the statements you made before, if you don't pay, we're not going to protect you.
President
Otherwise,
Trump.
we would have never gotten it. He said it was one of the most incredible jobs that he's ever seen done.
Thank you. I want to turn to Afghanistan. It came up in the first hour of the debate, and we witnessed a poignant moment today on Capitol Hill, honoring the soldiers who died in the chaotic withdrawal from Afghanistan. I do want to ask the Vice President, do you believe you bear any responsibility in the way that withdrawal played out?
Well, actually, I agreed with President Biden's decision to pull out of Afghanistan. 4 presidents said they would, and Joe Biden did. And as a result, America's taxpayers are not paying the $300 million a day we were paying for that endless war. And as of today, there is not one member of the United States military who is in active duty in a combat zone in any war zone around the world, the first time this century. But let's understand how we got to where we are. Donald Trump, when he was president, negotiated one of the weakest deals you can imagine. He calls himself a deal maker. Even his national security advisor said it was a weak, terrible deal. And here's how it went down. He bypassed the Afghan government. He negotiated directly with a terrorist organization called the Taliban. The negotiation involved the Taliban getting 5,000 Taliban terrorists released. And get this, and the president at the time invited the Taliban to Camp David, a place of storied significance for us as Americans, a place where we honor the importance of Americans.
I'm very curious how he's going to respond to
invite
this.
and receive respected world leaders. And this,
Because it is true. It is
former
true.
president, as president, invited them to Camp David because he does not again appreciate the role and responsibility of the president of the United States to be commander-in-chief with a level of respect. And this gets back to the point of how he has consistently disparaged and demeaned members of our military, fallen soldiers, and the work that we must do to uphold the strength.
See,
and the
she did that.
respect
She's going to
of the
divert him
United
from the
States of
point.
America around
Now
the
he's going to
world.
respect.
Vice President Harris, thank
Yes.
you. President Trump, your response to her saying that you began the negotiations
thank
with the
you.
Taliban.
So if you take a look at that period of time, the Taliban was killing our soldiers, a lot of them, with snipers. And I got involved with the Taliban because the Taliban was doing the killing. That's the fighting force within Afghanistan. They don't bother doing that because, they deal with the wrong people all the time. But I got involved. And Abdul is the head of the Taliban. He is still the head of the Taliban. And I told Abdul, don't do it anymore. You do it anymore, you're going to have problems. And he said, why do you send me a picture of my house? I said, you're going to have to figure that out, Abdul. And for 18 months, we had nobody killed. We did have an agreement negotiated by Mike Pompeo. It was a very good agreement. The reason it was good, we were getting out. We would have been out faster than them, but we wouldn't have lost the soldiers. We wouldn't have left many Americans behind, and we wouldn't have left $85 billion worth of brand new, beautiful military equipment behind. And just to finish, they blew it. The agreement said you have to do this. The
equipment was not actually
new. They didn't do it. The agreement was terminated by us because they didn't do what they were supposed to do.
I want to move on.
And these people did the worst withdrawal, and in my opinion, the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. And by the way, that's why Russia attacked Ukraine, because they saw how incompetent she and her boss are.
President Trump, thank you. I want to move on now to race and politics in this country. Mr. President, you recently said of Vice President Harris, quote, I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black, and now she wants to be known as black. I want to ask the bigger picture question here tonight.
Don't take the bait,
Why do you
Donald.
believe it's appropriate to weigh in on the racial identity?
Make one
of
statement and move on.
And I don't care. I don't care what she is. I don't care. You make a big deal out of something. I couldn't care less. Whatever she wants to be is okay with me.
But those are your words. So I'm
Good job.
As I read where she was not black,
He finally had one note.
and I'll say that. And then I read that she was black, and that's okay. Either one was okay with me. That's up to her. That's up to her.
Vice President Harris, your thoughts on this?
I think honestly, I think it's a tragedy that we have someone who wants to be president who has consistently, over the course of his career, attempted to use race to divide the American people. I do believe that the vast majority of us know that we have so much more in common than what separates us, and we don't want this kind of approach that is just constantly trying to divide us, and especially by race. And let's remember how Donald Trump started. He was land, he owned buildings, and he was investigated because he refused to rent property to black families. Let's remember, this is the same individual who took out a full-page ad in the New York Times
ACP award
calling for the
There we go.
execution of 5 young Black and Latino boys who were innocent, the Central Park 5.
I hope he nails this.
Took out a full-page ad calling for their execution. This is the same individual.
At the time, they were
who
still guilty.
spread
They were still found
birther
guilty,
lies
and they
of the first
confessed.
Black president of the United States. And I think the American people want
I hope
better
he
than
remembers
that.
this.
Want better than this. Want someone who understands, as I do, I travel our country. We see in each other a friend. We see in each other a neighbor. We don't want a leader who is constantly trying to have Americans point their fingers at each other. I meet with people all the time who tell me, can we please just have discourse about how we're going to invest in the aspirations and the ambitions and the dreams of the American people? Knowing that regardless of people's color or the language their grandmother speaks, we all have the
She's
same
toddling a little bit.
aspirations and want a president who invests in those, not in hate and division.
Vice President Harris, thank you. Lindsay?
President Trump, this
He's
is now
definitely
your third
unburdened.
time.
This is the most divisive presidency in the history of our country. There's never been anything like it. They're destroying our country, and they come up with things like what she just said. Going back many, many years, when a lot of people, including Mayor Bloomberg, agreed with me on the Central Park 5, they admitted, they said, they pled guilty. And I said, well, if they pled guilty, they badly hurt a person, killed a person ultimately. And if they pled guilty, then they pled, we're not guilty. But this is a person that has to stretch back years, 40, 50 years ago, because there's nothing now. I built one of the greatest economies in the history of the world, and I'm going to build it again. It's going to be bigger, better, and stronger. But they're destroying our economy. They have no idea what a good economy is. Their oil policies, every single policy. And remember this, she is Biden. You know, she's trying to get away from Biden. I don't know the gentleman, she says. She is Biden. The worst inflation we've ever had, a horrible economy because inflation has made it so bad, and she can't get away with that.
Thank you. Your time is up.
I want to respond to that.
He did good.
Briefly. Clearly, I am not Joe Biden, and I am certainly not Donald Trump. And what I do offer is a new generation of leadership for our country. One who believes in what is possible, one who brings a sense of optimism about what we can do.
Fucking can't stand her.
Disparaging the American people. I believe in what we can do to
She's starting to come off a little
strengthen
phony.
our small businesses, which is why I have a plan. Let's talk about our plans and let's compare the plans. I have a plan to give startup businesses $50,000 tax deduction.
Remind me to break apart why this
pursue
50,000 is bullshit
their
afterwards.
ambitions, their
Okay?
innovation, their ideas, their hard
ridiculous.
work. I have a plan, $6,000 for young families for the first year of your child's life to help you in that most critical stage of your child's development. I have a plan that is about allowing people to be able to pursue what has been fleeting in terms of the American dream by offering a help with down payment of $25,000 down payment assistance for first-time home buyers. That's the kind of conversation, I believe, David, that people really want tonight, as opposed to a conversation that is
That
constantly
50,000 is
about
such bullshit.
belittling and name calling. Let's turn the page.
Vice President
and move
Harris.
forward.
She destroys it with the corporate tax rate after. I hope he hits that.
President Trump.
Let's turn to policy, please.
To defund the police. She has a plan to confiscate everybody's gun.
President Trump,
She
we
has
do
a
have
Hope he
a-
says what Bernie
allow
Sanders said
fracking
yesterday.
in Pennsylvania or anywhere else.
Okay.
That's
Mr.
what her
President.
plan is until just recently.
I just need
Lindsay,
to
go ahead.
respond.
President
because
Trump-
the
President
former
Trump-
president has said
No, I'm
something
sorry.
twice that I need to
Go.
I'm sorry,
I
we're gonna
just need to
move on,
respond
Vice
one
President
time
Harris.
to what he has
President
said
Trump, this
multiple
is
times.
now your
Yes.
third time running for president. You have long vowed to repeal and replace the Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare. You have failed to accomplish that. You now say you're going to keep Obamacare, quote, unless we can do something much better. Last month, you said, quote, we're working on it. So tonight, 9 years after you first started running, do you have a plan, and can you tell us what it is?
Obamacare was lousy health care, always was. It's not very good today. And what I said, that if we come up with something, and we are working on things, we're going to do it and we're going to replace it. But remember this, I inherited Obamacare because Democrats wouldn't change it. They wouldn't vote for it. They were unanimous. They wouldn't vote to change it. If they would have done that, we would have had a much better plan than Obamacare. But the Democrats came up. They wouldn't vote for it. I had a choice to make when I was president. Do I save it and make it as good as it can be, never going to be great, or do I let it rot? And I felt I had an obligation, even though politically it would have been good to just let it rot and let it go away. I decided, and I told my people, the top people, and they're very good people. I have a lot of good people in that administration. We read about the bad ones. We had some real bad ones too, and so do they. They have really bad ones. The difference is they don't get rid of them. But let me just explain. I had a choice to make. Do I save it and make it as good as it can be, or do I let it rot? And I saved it. I did the right thing. But it's still never going to be great, and it's too expensive for people. And what we will do is we're looking at different plans. If we can come up with a plan that's going to cost our people, our population, less money and be better health care than Obamacare, then I would absolutely do it.
This is where he needs to mention Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
So just a yes or no, you still do not have a plan?
I have concepts of a plan. I'm not president right now. But if we come up with something, I would only change it if we come up with something that's better and less expensive. And there are concepts and options we have to do that. And you'll be hearing about it in the not too distant future.
Vice President Harris, in 2017, you supported Bernie Sanders' proposal to do away with private insurance and create a government-run healthcare system. 2 years later, you proposed a plan that included a private insurance option. What is your plan today?
Well, first of all, I absolutely support, and over the last 4 years as vice president, private healthcare options. But what we need to do is maintain and grow the Affordable Care Act. But I'll get to that, Lindsay. I just need to respond to a previous point that the former president has made. I've made very clear my position on fracking. And then this business about taking everyone's guns away. Tim Walz and I are both gun owners. We're not taking anybody's guns away. So stop with the continuous lying about this stuff. As it relates to the Affordable Care Act,
Bernie Sanders said you were.
Look at the history to know where people stand.
Yes,
when
sir.
Donald Trump was president, 60 times he tried to get rid of the Affordable Care Act. 60 times. I was a senator at the time when I will never forget the early morning hours when it was up for a vote in the United States Senate. And the late, great John McCain, who you have disparaged as being, you don't like him, you said at the time, because
all of a sudden the
he got
leftists
caught.
love
He's an American
warmongering Republicans.
Late, great John
Super
McCain,
weird.
I'll never forget that night. Walked onto the Senate floor and said, no, you don't. No, you don't. No, you don't get rid of the Affordable Care Act. You have no plan. And what the Affordable Care Act has done is eliminate the ability of insurance companies to deny people with pre-existing conditions. I don't have to tell the people watching tonight, you remember what that was like? Remember when an insurance company could deny if a child had asthma, if someone was a breast cancer survivor, if a grandparent had diabetes? And thankfully, as I've been vice president and we over the last 4 years have strengthened the Affordable Care Act, we have allowed for the first time Medicare to negotiate drug prices on behalf of you, the American people. Donald Trump said he was going to allow Medicare to negotiate drug prices. He never did. We did. And now we have capped the cost of insulin at $35 a month. Since I've been vice president, we have capped the cost of prescription medication for seniors at $2,000 a year. And when I am president, we will do that for all people, understanding that the value I bring to this is that access to health care should be a right and not just a privilege of those who can afford it. And the plan has to be to strengthen the Affordable Care Act, not get rid of it.
Vice President Harris, thank
in terms
you.
of where Donald Trump stands on that.
I want to move to an issue that's important for a lot
She made a mistake. Number one, John McCain fought Obamacare for 10 years. But it wasn't only him. It were all of the Democrats that kept it going. And you know what? We can do much better than Obamacare, much less money. But she won't improve.
Why did they
private
fact check her
insurance for people, private medical insurance. That's another thing she doesn't want to get.
President
People
Trump.
are paying privately for insurance that have worked hard and made money, and they want to have private. She wants everybody to be on government insurance where you wait 6 months for an operation that you need immediately.
President Trump, thank you. We have another issue that we'd like to get to that's important for a number of Americans, in particular younger voters, and that's climate change. President Trump, with regard to the environment, you say that we have to have clean air and clean water. Vice President Harris, you call climate change an existential threat. The question to you both tonight is, what would you do to fight climate change? And Vice President Harris, we'll start with you. 1 minute for you each.
Well, the former president had said that climate change is a hoax. And what we know is that it is very real. You ask anyone who lives in a state who has experienced these extreme weather occurrences, who now is either being denied home insurance or it's being jacked up. You ask anybody who has been the victim of what that means in terms of losing their home, having nowhere to go. We know that we can actually.
I didn't know hurricanes were a new thing in the last decade. Super
About
confused.
this issue. And I am proud that as vice president over the last 4 years, we have invested $1 trillion in a clean energy economy, while we have also increased domestic gas production to historic levels. We have created over 800,000 new manufacturing jobs while I have been vice president. We have invested in clean energy to the point that we are opening up factories around the world. Donald Trump said he was going to create manufacturing jobs. He lost manufacturing jobs. And I'm also proud to have the endorsement of the United Auto Workers and Sean Fain, who also know that part of building a clean energy economy includes investing in American-made products, American automobiles. It includes growing what we can do around American manufacturing and opening up auto plants, not closing them like happened under Donald Trump.
Vice President Harris, thank you.
That didn't happen under Donald Trump. Let me just tell you, they lost 10,000 manufacturing jobs this last month. It's going, they're all leaving. They're building big auto plants in Mexico, in many cases owned by China. They're building these massive plants, and they think they're going to sell their cars into the United States because of these people. What they have given to China is unbelievable, but we're not going to let that. We'll put tariffs on those cars so they can't come into our country, because they will kill the United Auto Workers and any auto worker, whether it's in Detroit or South Carolina or any other place. What they've done to business and manufacturing in this country is horrible. We have nothing because they refuse. You know, Biden doesn't go after people because supposedly China paid him millions of dollars. He's afraid to do it. Between him and his son, they get all this money from Ukraine. They get all this money from all of these different countries. And then you wonder, why is he so loyal to this one, that one, Ukraine, China? Why is he? Why did he get $3.5 million from the mayor of Moscow's wife? Why did she pay him $3.5 million? This is a crooked administration, and they're selling our country down the tubes.
President Trump, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll be right back with closing statements from both of our candidates in a story.
He did good.
ABC News presidential debate from Philadelphia. Back in a moment.
He's rallied in the second half.
Yeah, I think he's still locked so far, but I want to really quick talk about that tax credit. So people are stupid. So they hear $50,000 tax credit and people think that they're getting $50,000 back. What's funny, it's a first year in business. So in order for there to be a tax credit, you have to be profiting that $50,000 for it to show at all. And when you actually do that, you're essentially not paying taxes on that $50,000. So that is the equivalent of about $12,000 to $15,000. That's great. However, 95% of businesses don't make money their first year. So it's pandering. It's bullshit. But I just saw the Alabama-Wisconsin game at the bottom. I'll be there. Anyways, so we'll kill it. And then the other thing is they're raising the corporate tax rate. When they raise the corporate tax rate, these businesses, if indeed they become successful, they're increasing the rate to anywhere from 20 to 28% from a much lower from Donald Trump. So if you get $12,000 back your first year, in the long run, in 3 or 4 years of successful business, if you're still around, it's actually going to cost you, depending on what you're making, quite a bit more. It's bullshit. Bullshit, bullshit, bullshit. I would have loved for Trump to have actually known enough to say that, but the credit can't, that's actually accurate. The credit can be deferred. With that said, it doesn't matter if the corporate tax rates are higher. In the end, you defer it, and then it just balances itself out with the other tax rate. It's a completely fluff plan that actually.
Let's get into the second half of the debate real quick.
I say he won his second half. Just so y'all
I think he
know,
won the second half.
I feel like now the whole debate's his.
I think
He's
this
composed
last,
himself. Let's listen to these last opening. There's the
I
closing
was going to say,
statements.
He gets the
don't
last
count your
word.
chickens yet. Haitians are coming.
He
Emily,
gets
what
the
do you
last
think?
word.
Oh,
He
me?
needs. Go ahead, Emily.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree. I think he's winning the second half of the debate, or won the second half of the debate. I mean, I don't know how much the bias is really going to swing independent voters. I would hope that independent voters can see how blatant the bias is. To me, it's pretty obvious. I hope that they can see that. So even the first half wouldn't matter too much, but I guess we'll see.
Yeah.
I think he gained a lot of ground. I think it helped a lot. The last part of this debate and how he ends is how it's going to set the tone with how everybody's going to spin this whole debate. So if he can close this out very smoothly and tactfully, I think he'll be just fine. The media has a lot to play with this, though. There's a lot of stuff that they have to be able to pull out of Trump and to be able to say, look at Trump, look at what he said. But I think he did well in the second half. I think he can turn this around if he ends this just right.
No attacks. Talk about policy. Talk about her lack of policy. They did. I mean, it was brutal that they got him on the "do you have a plan?" It's like, bitch, you haven't challenged her for not having a plan yet. That's mind-boggling. It's our healthcare system's broken. I do wish you would have brought up RFK. I wish you would have said we're going to work on something that's out of the box. The thing is, he has to be careful because he can't say things like, we are going to actually make sure people are paying the right amounts, and we're not going to allow price gouging in hospitals, because those are some of the biggest lobbies in in government. So that'll look bad. It won't look bad. It'll look good to us, but it will affect some of the gamesmanship in play, which you still have to be a politician no matter what.
Agreed. I do have to say, politics has really, I just tweeted this also, politics has really ruined the whole form of drinking games, because everybody wouldn't be able to finish these debates anymore if we had real drinking games.
I thought about getting up and pouring a cocktail.
Give me one too.
Pretty bad.
He hasn't name called. He hasn't called her Comrade Kamala. So, I mean, and she keeps calling him out. Oh, the name calling. He hasn't name called at all.
He said the word hate too many times. He said a lot of negative statements. I mean, I think he is fear-mongering a bit more. I mean, again, he is against the moderate. By the way, so what happened to Snuffleupagus? I thought this was supposed to be a Snuffleupagus interview.
It was.
He's telling the truth, though. That's the thing. It's not like he's lying. He's telling the truth.
But you need backup. You need statistics. You need
They
to
might
be
be
able to
coming
rattle
back,
it.
FYI.
So what happened to Snuffleupagus, Casey?
I have no idea. That's what I was expecting, because Trump has said this numerous times. Oh, they're back.
Begin with you.
So I think you've heard tonight two very different visions for our country. One that is focused on the future, and the other that is focused on the past, and an attempt to take us backward. But we're not going back. And I do believe that the American people know we all have so much more in common than what separates us. And we can chart a new way forward. And a vision of that includes having a plan, understanding the aspirations, the dreams, the hopes, the ambition of the American people, which is why I intend to create an opportunity economy, investing in small businesses, in new families, in what we can do around protecting seniors, what we can do that is about giving hardworking folks a break and bringing down the cost of living. I believe in what we can do together that is about sustaining America's standing in the world and ensuring that we have the respect that we so rightly deserve, including respecting our military and ensuring we have the most lethal fighting force in the world. I will be a president that will protect our fundamental rights and freedoms, including the right of a woman to make decisions about her own body and not have her government tell her what to do. I'll tell you, I started my career as a prosecutor. I was a DA, I was an attorney general, a United States senator, and now vice president. I've only had one client, the people. And I'll tell you, as a prosecutor, I never asked a victim or a witness, are you a Republican or a Democrat? The only thing I ever ask them, are you okay? And that's the kind of president we need right now. Someone who cares about you and is not putting themselves first. I intend to be a president for all Americans and focus on what we can do over the next 10 and 20 years to build back up our country by investing right now in you, the American people.
Vice President Harris, thank you. President Trump?
So she just started by saying she's going to do this, she's going to do that, she's going to do all these wonderful things. Why hasn't she done it? She's been there for 3.5 years. They've had 3.5 years to fix the border. They've had 3.5 years to create jobs and all the things we talked about. Why hasn't she done it? She should leave right now, go down to that beautiful White House, go to the Capitol, get everyone together and do the things you want to do, but you haven't done it and you won't do it because you believe in things that the American people don't believe in. You believe in things like we're not going to frack, we're not going to take fossil fuel, we're not going to do things that are going to make this country strong, whether you like it or not. Germany tried that, and within 1 year, they were back to building normal energy plants. We're not ready for it. We can't sacrifice our country for the sake of bad vision. But I just ask one simple question. Why didn't she do it? We're a failing nation. We're a nation that's in serious decline. We're being laughed at all over the world. All over the world, they're laughed. I know the leaders very well. They're coming to see me. They call me. We're laughed at all over the world. They don't understand what happened to us as a nation. We're not a leader. We don't have any idea what's going on. We have wars going on in the Middle East. We have wars going on with Russia and Ukraine. We're going to end up in a third world war, and it'll be a war like no other because of nuclear weapons, the power of weaponry. I rebuilt our entire military. She gave a lot of it away to the Taliban. She gave it to Afghanistan. What these people have done to our country, and maybe toughest of all, is allowing millions of people to come into our country. Many of them are criminals, and they're destroying our country. The worst president, the worst vice president in the history of our country.
President Trump, thank you. That is our ABC News presidential debate.
He did that. That was good.
National Constitution Center. I'm Lindsay Davis.
And I'm David Muir. Thank you for watching here in the U.S. and all over the world, and from all of us here at ABC News. Good night.
He did that. We got to give it up. Give it up for Trump. Give it up for Trump. Mic drop at the end.
But I love him.
He did that.
I think he attacked her more than I wanted him to, but I think that was done in a very good way. Excuse me. That's the tactfulness I want to hear out of Trump. He knows how to just pull out the things, throw a couple daggers, get it in, and end the whole situation. And that's what I expected earlier on, but he let his mouth go. But I think he ended it very well.
You know, Kelly brought up a point. Why didn't he bring up the fact that there's some suspicion and the fact that, you know, they cremated the kid's body that tried to assassinate him? Why didn't he actually say, like, I think it's kind of weird that our investigations, our FBI, I think that could have been brought up.
Nah.
I don't know if that would have gone his way though with independent voters because
Right.
there's been so much going, it's a right-wing conspiracy theory. So
Exactly.
better for him to he briefly kind of mentioned it about getting shot at the rally. And I think it was probably best to avoid it.
Yeah,
I
I think he had a very weak 30-minute spot, and then he everything else was pretty decent.
Yes. In the beginning, he got her. They rattled him for a second. He regained composure. And I say Trump comes out with the victory on this one.
I'm going to go.
It's a slim win, but he got it.
I'm going to go with a draw.
I think he still comes out.
With that closing, I think the second half matters the most. And I think with the closing in the second half, I think you might be right.
Yeah. Slim. He got a slim victory right there because he composed himself and he started hitting on the issues. And then right there at the closing, why haven't you done it?
Yeah.
That's the question everyone's been asking. So it's like everything you're saying right now is BS because you have so much that you could do right now and you won't.
I don't disagree.
Yeah,
so I say he came out with the win.
I think he did. I think this is a win. Now, I think everybody needs to not go out and say Donald Trump killed it. I think it was not in his favor, but I think he did pretty well. Now, only if we could get Kamala to show up to a Fox News debate, that would be super helpful. And we'll find out. The biggest battle I've been dealing with in X, everybody keeps saying, Kamala has been saying, I'll show up to more debates if Donald Trump will show up to one. So now this is going to shut down that argument from all of them. And so we're going to find out if there will be another debate on September 25th.
Well, all I'm going to say is now Donald Trump is officially in a gang because he did get jumped in. You know what I'm saying? They jumped him. They jumped him tonight. So now he's officially in the gang.
I do think he missed an opportunity with Bernie Harris.
Bernie Sanders.
Sanders, Jiminy Crickets.
Bernie Harris?
Bernie Harris. I don't know. Whatever.
Still sounds right.
Sorry, I'm not feeling great. I think he missed an opportunity, especially when he was talking about the fracking and this, because she kept just the same way as Trump said, I don't believe in Project 2025. She said these things, and she's flip-flopped on him. And Bernie Sanders still holds some weight in the Democrat Party to actually say that would have been nice. Because Bernie Sanders yesterday literally said she's changing her opinions to make sure she gets elected. It's smart.
Yeah.
But that's like the quiet part.
I'm gonna clip that tomorrow.
Have you not heard that? Yeah, that went nuts over the last couple of days. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm gonna clip it with her saying, "I'm not gonna take nobody's guns. You're a liar," and it's gonna go straight to Bernie.
Oh, yeah. Dude, I'm gonna clip. I'm not gonna take your guns, and that just needs to go out everywhere. Because
is she really a gun owner?
No way. You look at her husband.
No, I believe it.
He only plays pickleball. That's all.
Looks like he plays with pickles.
I have to be honest. I don't think she lost. I don't necessarily think she won. I don't think she lost.
That's the liberal in you shining through.
No, I think you're accurate. This plays it right into what they did. They gave Trump no cards to come up with slang terms, words, or anything because she hasn't said anything. She's been silent. So Trump couldn't play his normal game. And so all of a sudden, this is her first time on stage. And so he has to come up with it on the fly within 2 minutes. And so I think this was played very well by the left. I don't think it was enough for them to get what they wanted, but they played it well.
I think she repeated questions. I mean, it was so clear in the second she didn't think he was going to answer that Indian black thing the way he did, and she fumbled there. But everything else, she has rehearsed those questions. They kind of knew what they'd get out of him, and
she was very So again, I think when she hit her stride in the first half, I think she did well. She was confident. Second half, I think she got tired because again, she doesn't do anything. Like, let's be very clear. She doesn't do anything. That's why it's, I'm not sad because of the fact that I think that Trump was losing and it's like Kamala looks pretty good. I'm sad because she's going to dupe the American people into thinking that she's actually a halfway decent candidate. But she did get tired. She became disingenuous in the second half where it seemed sing-songy and it wasn't as smooth and it was a little fake. And I think people can see that in the second half. And again, it's like what was the one boxer? He always fought hardest in the last 20 seconds of the if anybody can remember who I'm thinking of, Sugar Ray Leonard. He won the last 30 seconds of a round. And that's how he made his career. He would get his points in the last 30 seconds of a round, and I do think that he won it in the last 30 seconds or the last 30 seconds.
I mean, do you want to find out what the American people think and take some calls?
You can if you want. I will say Mike Tyson's fights never made it to 30 seconds.
Yeah, Mike Tyson was just knockout instant.
What do you think about this comment from Mama?
Oh.
We have a message from someone that's independent. Well, not necessarily independent, but is
left-leaning, actually.
Left-leaning independent, and he says no. He says the moderators are biased and not helping. I think from the libertarian view, by what I'm seeing, a lot of people are still seeing the bias and are saying that media can't be trusted. and so they're not going to give it one way or another.
I don't think what I said. I don't think it moved the needle. I don't think it moved the needle left or right. I really don't. I think they both ended up in kind of a dead heat, to be totally honest.
I don't think so. I think he won it. I think he comes out with the victory.
And I agree with Clint. I do think she clearly had the questions.
Oh, 100%. There's no way she had those answers that prepared.
America, if you would like to call in and give your opinion, 219-278-7478. 219-278-7478. Call right now. I'll put you live on the air.
Someone just tagged me in a post from yesterday about a human eating a pet cat.
Yeah, it's a real thing. I watched it.
It's disturbing video. Is that the body cam footage?
Yeah.
Looks like it. Yeah.
That's where I was saying he got it wrong. It wasn't a dog. It was a cat.
Well, they're saying dogs were hanging from the trees, but yeah, it was a cat. And he even posted with the MAGA cat earlier.
Yeah, it's just funny. Like,
and here's the thing. Trump was in the lead going into tonight. So we'll see about the polls. The polls have all shifted back towards Trump. Vegas odds are 54%, 46. That's my barometric pressure more than anything else. Vegas is, and for a while she took the lead. So we're going to see where it goes, but I don't think it changes from this point. And from an electoral college perspective, she has a very uphill ground. She as of right now may win the popular vote, but it won't matter.
I don't know.
Yeah, so did Hillary, right? Hillary got the popular vote.
Yep.
Like, who cares? Like, that's the reason why we are not a democracy, is we don't run on the popular vote when it comes to the presidency.
Yeah.
But
all right,
yeah.
we could do. I'm good doing calls for 20 minutes.
All right, here we go.
I could do that. Got enough cough drops.
We got
to make
8,100
Hello. You are live on the air right now. What's going on? Did I pull it up? What's going on? Hold on, wait a minute. Let me make sure you're connected. Can you hear me? Caller.
Bueller.
Hello? Can you hear me? No, it's not going through.
Did you even put the number up?
Yeah, they got the number.
Oh,
Yeah, there's the phone number right there.
I don't know why it's not working. Should be working.
It's a prank call. Jamie's calling it out. Prank call, Cash.
How you know?
I can't believe you prank called me before I prank called you. I was literally planning on pranking you when you were doing this. And you called me and I'm like, who's this motherfucker?
Is it a prank call for real? I don't think it's a prank call.
Who's calling? Who's calling?
I don't know. What?
I got to do another interview after this.
219-278-7478. Yeah, there you go. There you go, baby D. That was Russo.
Uh-oh.
It's not me.
It is you.
What's that?
It is you.
I swear to God, it's not me.
It says your name.
It is you.
No, it's not.
It is you. I swear to God, it's not me. It says your name. It is you.
Who is it? It's Russo.
Oh, it's
Are you guys
Mom.
answering the phone? Hold on, I gotta. I'm his mother.
Oh, hey, Mama. How you doing?
Okay. It comes across, because it's part of the same account, it comes across as his.
Gotcha. So what do you
Okay,
think?
so here's my. From the point of, we all know and love Trump.
Right.
And he talks the way he does, and he says what he says, and we also know the truth. But you're looking at people, millions of people who don't know the truth as we know the truth. And so she was articulate. Whether they fed her the information or not, she came across as articulate. She came across as smooth. She came across as strong sometimes, where that one statement she said about, hey, Biden's not up here, I am. There were so many things that she said that an independent could have said, you know what, she's sharp. Trump is not as sharp as she is. and he's talking crazy stuff about cats and dogs getting eaten. And I mean, that first hour was just like I got a headache listening to it.
I feel
Second
you.
hour was a bit better. It was a little bit better, but in what you guys talk about the moderators, they're ABC. We're not going to expect anything different from them.
That is true.
Now, do I think that they might have fed her the information? That could very well be possible. Do I think that they were overly biased? I don't know. They did some pointed questions at her. They asked her about her flip-flops, some of the changes there. So,
but they didn't follow up with her.
My thing is, Anthony said something about it, it still might be neck and neck, or it didn't change the dial, I think is what he said. I turned you guys off because I got feedback. So if Anthony's talking, I can't hear it.
It's all right.
So we can keep him quiet for a little bit. Yeah. So anyways, Trump certainly didn't win. Let's put it that way. That's the best I can.
I think I have a way to feed Anthony through so you can hear him. Hold on. Anthony, say something.
Hear me? Check.
Can you hear him?
Yeah, I can hear.
Oh yeah. There you go. You're so smart, Cash. You're not wrong. It's just it really does boil down to the independent vote. So and honestly, but when it comes to the actual moderators, I think that's one of those ones. If you go back and watch it, I think you'll realize they never followed up with her. Yeah, they did bring up some hard questions. It was just like her interview last week on CNN. They gave her a couple hard questions and never gave her the axe, like with Trump, where that one question with Trump was near the end when they said, well, what is your plan to replace Obamacare? And it's like, that's a hard question. That is a massive platform that you have to replace. So they dug into him on that one. When it came to Kamala, they said, yeah, you flip-flopped. She talked about it. They didn't bring up Bernie Sanders. Trump should have, and kind of let her go. So they would ask her a couple hard questions and then just let her go.
Yeah, I agree.
And she knew it was coming.
And I agree with that. I agree with that. It's ABC. I absolutely agree. It wasn't as biased. Let's put it this way. It wasn't as biased as I thought it was going to be. I agree that all I know is he didn't win. I don't think the ultimate thing is you want to win and lose on this to make sure that you're changing votes. I don't know if he was good enough to change votes. That's my thing.
I don't think he is, but he's in the lead. So he's in the lead.
And I like what Jamie Porter said. Where was it? I think middle ground will go on emotional, and she played that. That's very true.
Yeah, I agree. Mama?
And again, they just don't know the real lies that she says. They don't know January 6th lies.
Yeah, he didn't articulate it well in a lot of places.
Mama, I appreciate you, and I love you.
Thanks, Mom.
Okay, guys.
We got more people on the line. Love you, Mom.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Breaking news, Donald Trump just posted on Truth. People are saying big win tonight.
I'm telling you.
Well, that's Trump.
Live on the air with the Truth Gang. How are you?
Who this?
Hello?
Hi. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you. What's going on, brother?
Well, I've been around a long time. I worked in the Reagan campaigns, so I'm not a newcomer to all of this. I think the Democrats did the impossible. They made her look not brain dead.
Yeah, I agree.
You got to give them credit. You got to give them credit.
I agree with that.
It was essentially a draw. Trump didn't hurt himself. She helped herself. But I agree with the gentleman up there who said, I don't think it moved the needle. I think it's all going to come down to ballot security and whether or not they can keep them from stealing the election again.
I agree. That's pretty good. I agree with that. But I have to say, I think Trump comes out with a slim victory.
Yeah, I'll also say this, too. If you haven't seen the movie Reagan, you should go see it.
Okay.
It was good. There's a lot to mine and a lot to learn there from the old guard like we were, and so God save America.
God save America, brother. I appreciate you, man. Thank you.
Thank you. You guys keep it up.
Yes, sir. God bless.
Well said.
God bless.
Yeah,
All right,
thing,
Carlos.
Cash,
The line is still open.
real
Go ahead.
quick, Cash. The thing is, a thin victory doesn't do anything for us because we have to win big.
Yeah, but we can't take no L's right now either. So it does do something for us.
It doesn't hurt us.
Right. Right. So that's my thing. All right. Calls, y'all can call in real quick. We got a couple minutes left. 219-278-7478. 219-278-7478. Call us. You'll be live on the air with the Truth Gang. Instead of saying everybody's name, see how I did that? Just put everybody in one pot.
How long did it take you to memorize that phone number, or is it written on your monitor?
No, it's right there, right in front of me. But I do remember it. It's easy to remember 219 numbers. And it's easy.
I remember how Democrat, my whole family was. I remember like my dad used to over and over, and I was having this conversation with somebody the other day. I would love to know what my aunt and my dad think of the current state of politics, because they were both, they were police supporters, but they leaned a little bit on the left. They leaned a little bit on the left. My dad hated Reagan, which is hilarious because I think he bought and paid for kind of the messaging that came out of the media about Reagan later. But I'm a big Reagan fan now.
I'm in and out about Reagan. I like him, but I don't like some of the things. Caller, you are live on the air with the Truth Gang. What's going on? Tell us how you feel.
I feel the same way that I think he won it.
What?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. You think he won it?
Yeah. I just wanted to say that I agree that Trump needs to stop telling us what they did bad.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, I think he does need to tell him.
He keeps going on and on and on about how bad they did, and I think to myself, well, we lived it 3.5 years.
Yes, that's true. He should have tried to appeal more to the voters that don't know about him.
The thing is,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you, ma'am. Does he still got your vote?
Yes, absolutely. Trump, it is 2024.
Yes, 100%. Trump 2024 all the way. I appreciate you calling in. I hope you have a good night. God bless you.
All right, you same. God bless.
Bye-bye.
See, I do think he needs to attack them, but he needs to articulate why, not worst ever, she's terrible.
Everyone knows she's horrible. The job she did when she was in Afghanistan, look at what they did. It was horrible. They left brand new old weapons for all of Afghanistan. They're driving around in jets. They didn't even know how to drive a jet. They left the manuals. Now they know. They think they're eagles, not our kind of eagles. Biden eagles, the ones that don't fly. I don't like the eagles that don't fly.
Yeah, there is a way to do it, and he did not do it.
All right, guys, we'll take a couple more calls, and then we're going to go ahead and get off the air, and then I'm going to come back. All right, so, yeah, there's that. Hold on, caller. 1 second. Got to hook you back up here. All right.
Okay.
You're on live with the Truth Gang. Tell us how you feel.
Hey, well, I just wanted to say that, man, I wish that Trump would have really given a death knell. Man, I wish it would have been a more definitive victory. I think he did a good job. I don't have anything negative to say, or, man, he should have done this differently. But, shoot, wish it would have gone over better, or she would have failed worse.
Yeah, I heard that, bro. I'm not in disagreement at all with you there. Me too. But at least he didn't go, like, all the way bad. You know what I mean? It wasn't all that bad. He had a couple cringy little moments.
For about 20 minutes.
Yeah, he kind of lost it. He went out but he picked himself back up. And it doesn't matter about how you ran in the middle of the race. It's just how did you end? And he came across that finish line very, very. It was just the tip of his hair. You know how he got this little swoop that comes out? It was that part that made it across the finish line.
Yeah, that's right. He had good moments, and like overall, I think it was a win. Just wish it was less of a 52-48 win.
No, I feel you. I feel you, bro. I appreciate you, man. Did you still get your vote?
Oh, I mean, I vote for Trump or a communist. That's a pretty easy vote for me.
You are the man. I hope you have a great night, my brother.
Hey, you too.
All right.
This is dangerous.
This is
Getting
awesome.
cashed the
All
buttons.
right, guys. All right, look, we're going to take, oh, here it is. Got him.
Got him.
Live on the air with the Truth Gang. Tell us how you feel.
All right, guys. All right, look, we're going to take.
You got to turn your, up. All right, you hung up. Gotcha. Oh, okay. I need you to turn your mic down or your volume down just a little bit.
Oh, okay. I need you to turn your mic down or your volume down just a little bit.
Got me? We good? Your TV? Is it still on?
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. My bro, how you doing, man? Tell us how you feel.
Yeah, I'm doing good, and you?
I can't cry, man. Tell us who you voting for, bro. Is it Trump or Kamala after this debate?
You know, when it comes to that stuff, I mean, in what I heard from this debate, you know, honestly, you know, I think Trump was spitting facts, you know, out there. You know, mostly he was, you know, pertaining to what was going on in the country, and she couldn't really speak to that. She spoke about what she can do, but like you said, you know, if she was going to do it, she would have done it in the past 3-4 years. You know, she's been in office with him.
That's very real, my bro. That's very real. Where you calling from?
I mean, you recognize the number, so I'm from Gary, Indiana.
I already was about to say, bro. I already was about to say you got to be in the G. You got to be somewhere, man, bro. I appreciate you calling in. So, does Trump got your vote this year, or you still on the fence?
Oh, no, for sure. You know, it's got to be a major mess up if it switches my opinion on my vote. So, yeah, he's got it for sure.
I love it. I love it, my bro. I appreciate you. Got anything else you want to say to the people?
No, that's pretty much it. You know, for the most part, you know.
Can I get a Trump 2024?
Trump 2024.
You are the man, bro. I appreciate you. I hope you have a good night, my brother. Hey, I'm probably gonna hit you back just because I want to holler at you about, Janiyah going missing out there in the G, man. So I wanted to get your opinion about that as well. So I got your number on here. I'm gonna call you back. All right.
Appreciate it.
All right, my bro.
Yeah, let's do one more call if this
All
is
right.
it. Do we have anybody that was on the fence? I know we've got 8,700 people watching, so there's got to be some liberals, there's got to be some mid-grounders, independents. Nobody call in unless you are an independent. That'll be our last call.
That's what I want to. Somebody who was on the fence, give us a call right now. 219-278-7478. 219-278-7478. Call me right now. Call me now for your free reading. Miss Cleo, you guys remember Miss Cleo? Who remembers Miss Cleo? Give us a call. Are you on the fence? Are you on the fence? Or are you a Kamala voter? Does this make you a stronger Kamala voter? That's what I want to know. Call in. Call up. Tiffany, you're here. Tiff, give us a call, Tiff. 219-278-7478. Give me a call. Come on. 219-278-7478.
To people asking about Jay, by the way, Jay sent me a message earlier, and by the way, next week is our 200th Truth Will Set You Free. But I said to Jay early on in the debate, I said, your girl is winning. And he said, Trump was right. ABC interviewers are very biased in Harris's favor. So I thought that was very interesting that he recognized that as well.
Oh, we got an unknown caller.
Let's see it.
Unknown caller, welcome to the show. You are live on the air with the Truth Gang. Is this Tiffany?
This is Tiffany.
What's up, sister?
What's going on? What's going on? Hello, everybody.
So I already know what you're going to get to. Go ahead and get to it.
Listen.
Go ahead,
I don't
sister.
This wasn't even like a landslide, you know. The only thing that Trump said repeatedly is he's the best this. He was the best ever to do this. He was the best ever to do that. Biden is the worst this, the worst that. He can never, ever say what he's going to do and how he's going to do it. He's just a bully. He's not here for the American people. Instead of him putting all this energy into he's the best this, he did this the best, Kamala and Biden is the worst. Tell us what we're going to do for the American people. That's
Okay.
what the main focus should be.
So let me give you a little pushback,
But
sister.
he has no explanation. He has
I
nothing.
hear you. I hear you. And as a person that's voting for Kamala, I understand how you feel, right? So I got to ask you this: as a Kamala supporter, what did she say that spoke to you that if Trump didn't do that, did she do any of those things?
Not really, and neither one of them said how they're going to do it. They both say, oh, they're going to do this, they're going to do that, but I need to know how, and no one can give me how. It's so easy to say, oh, we need to do this, we need to close the border, we have an immigration issue. Yes, we all know that, but how are you going to fix it? That's what
that one's simple. That one was simple. Trump said it. Just literally sign the bill that says the border is closed. That's all they have to do is literally the swipe of a pen. Is just say we're closing the border. The president has the power to do that. They don't need Congress's approval or anything. The president can literally say the border's closed.
Right, but that's not it though. I mean, that's part of it, but that's not the solution. Like closing the border, and then what? So then what's next? Once we close the border, then what?
Mass deportation.
Here.
Yeah, mass deportation. That's a part of Trump's plan. That's literally on his campaign, is to literally deport all the people that are here illegally.
Even the ABC.
But he didn't do that 3.5 years ago.
He didn't have to.
He didn't.
He closed the border.
The border was closed.
The border.
That was the whole point. He had the strongest border in American history.
He put in remain in Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a real thing, sister.
I do want to push back, Tiffany, on one thing you said. You know, he doesn't. Why is he talking about it? And I agree with one thing. I like how great I am, how great I am. I don't like that. But when you're touting your record, you said, why does he have to talk about all the great things he did? Because he did do some great things. So if you're going to have a good record on certain things, you're going to say it. Now, the way he says it is always a little bit difficult to stomach as for people that are not fans of Donald Trump. But you do have to highlight your successes. She highlighted her successes, whatever those were. But she did tried to, and I think that you just have to take it and figure out what successes you believe are real and what are true and what aren't.
Right, but we're tired of hearing that. It's like it's on repeat. It's like we have so many issues here in America, and us as American people, we need to come together. We need to be unified again. We're so divided. We need to be unified again, and we need to come together and fix the issues. Like, stop talking about what you did, how great you are, how bad they are. Like, we're so tired of hearing that.
What are your issues?
Democrats, like even Kamala, like we're tired of hearing you talk about how bad Donald Trump is, all the lies. Okay, we have our opinions, we know that, but what are we going to do to come together and be one nation again?
That's very fair.
People. That is a big thing for all people.
That's very fair.
Can we ask the question? So, what are your biggest issues?
My biggest issues is women's rights. I worked in labor and I'm a nurse. I worked in labor and delivery for a very long time. So there is, and it's true, there's a lot of incest. There's a lot of young kids that are raped and having these children. So women's reproductive rights, you know, the guns is an issue. We just had a mass shooting in Georgia. Guns is a major issue here in America.
Well,
and it's very scary that nobody feels safe. Like, you can't go to the grocery store, movie theater, church. It's just so unsafe.
How will gun control?
Well, sister, can I ask you a quick question?
Yes.
Okay, so I don't know if you live in a place like where I live, right? But even if they made gun control, most crimes that are committed with guns are done so with illegal firearms.
Mm-hmm.
So how would gun control curb gun crimes?
That's what they have to figure out. But we also have to, it's not like we need to take guns completely away, but us American people should not have access to assault rifles.
What's an assault rifle?
What's an assault rifle?
Tiffany, stop. What do you describe as an assault rifle?
Well, even before you say that, Tiff, before you describe what, first off, thank you for calling in. I love you because, you stay giving support, even though we're on different sides politically. You stay in my comments, and I appreciate you. But I just want to say, most crimes that are, and especially shootings, mass shootings, all homicides that happen with guns happen with handguns, not assault rifles.
Facts.
But they only display assault rifles, or what they call assault rifles, on the news whenever there is what they would call a mass shooting. That's a statistical fact.
And I want to bring up one other point about school shootings. As sad as they are, there's 88,000 schools, primary schools. If you include all the privates, you're looking at 116,000 or more. And I think that's any school shooting is incredibly sad. But like we just had, we had a couple people killed at the school shooting, and I don't want to downplay how big of a deal that is, and the fact that it is a situation. But you're looking at 1/100,000th of a school, and then out of that, a very small fraction. Now, it's what's all over the news, absolutely. But what's the real case is when you actually look in places like inner cities, that there's quadruple that per weekend. So I think that it's a misguided speaking point to try to lean on these gun control and also the emotion of the voter at the same time.
And before we keep going, I want to give a shout out right now because my daughter is in the comment section. Baby girl, I love you. It is 10 o'clock. Put the phone down and go to sleep because you got school in the morning.
What daughter
Even
is that?
though it's a half day. I think it's Rai. I think that's my Rai right there. That is definitely my daughter. I love you, baby. But get off of here right now and take your little butt to sleep because it's a school night. Okay? I love you, though. Go ahead, Tiff.
Okay. Yes, we have the illegal guns in the inner cities. We have black on black crimes. We're killing each other. But I just feel that no one should have access to high power that's used in military grade guns in our everyday lives. Like, there's no reason for us to have AK-47s, AR-15s. There is no reason for...
Did you just say an AK-47?
Like me to
And
have
an
access.
AR-15.
Yes.
So, Tiffany, let me address that real quick. You're saying an AK-47 and an AR-15. Do you realize an AR-15 is not used in a military operation at all? It is not a military weapon. That is an M16 that is used in the military, not an AR-15.
Which allows you to switch from semi-automatic to automatic.
So the AR-15 was developed early on as a military kind of style weapon, but it is not military grade of what people are saying today.
Also,
That
can
is
I ask one question?
M16.
But why do you need that?
Why do I need that? Because
No,
the
why do
Second
you need
Amendment
that?
says it shall not be infringed. But do you realize there is two guns that are very close to each other? There is a 22 caliber rifle that is .22, and then you have a AR-15 which shoots a .223, which is barely larger than a 22 caliber rifle. And that's all you're doing is comparing one rifle that looks tactical and scary compared to another rifle that is just more standard. And so there is nothing really different. Now the 223 can shoot faster because it's loaded differently. However, the gun is not that much different. This is all a scare tactic to make it because this gun looks different. That's all it is.
And I have one last question on the AR, Tiff. And I'm sorry, we're not attacking you. I love that you called.
I'm laughing because my baby girl's in the comments. I love you, Araya. I hope you feel better, baby.
Tiff, do you know what AR stands for? Because I think this is also a common misconception that leads people down the wrong line.
Good question.
I know this one.
Isn't it automatic rifle?
No,
No.
it's Armalite. It's the brand of the
Or
original.
assault rifle?
Nope.
It is not an assault rifle. So that I think that they've ingrained that into people's head that AR means either assault rifle or automatic rifle. It is a semi-automatic weapon. It is Armalite. Emily just said it. So I think that there's a very common misconception to people that don't understand guns. And like Cash said, and like Emily mentioned, people are getting killed by handguns. If you want to ban all guns, then we could have a whole discussion about how that completely destroys the Second Amendment.
Yeah,
And
destroys your right to protect yourself from a tyrannical government if it ever was to happen.
But also the right to protect, like I'm a woman and I travel alone a lot and I carry a handgun, or I have an AR-15 as well. And I carry these guns. I own these guns for my own protection. If I'm home alone, when I'm traveling the country, I feel the need for protection. And when I have it, I feel safe. So, I mean, it's people like me too that, we're using the Second Amendment to protect ourselves and our homes and our families.
Did you go through the right channels to get that gun, get the license and all of that?
100%.
Background checks, mental illness checks.
Yep, 100%. Because to purchase a gun in this country, you have to have background checks. I have a license to carry. I have taken extensive training. That you can't just walk into a store and buy a handgun with no check. Every state requires a background check. If you're a convicted felon, you cannot own a handgun. The vice president's son, that's why he's on trial right now, because he was owning handguns illegally. But absolutely, I went through the legal channels, and we do have gun laws.
Now, do you know who doesn't go through those channels? Those are the guns that do the bulk of the crime. And those
Hunter Biden?
Hunter Biden. Well, Hunter Biden's an outlier, but
So Tiff, in any case, this didn't sway you at all as far as the debate. But how about this conversation? Did you know any of the things that we're talking about right now? Is this new to you, or are you going to look at any of this stuff and maybe change your opinion a bit?
Well, no, I'm not going to change my opinion, and it's not because a lot of black people are going with Kamala because she's a female black female. It's not even because of that. I just feel, and it's a personal thing, nobody is above the law. That is a big thing with me and my family. Nobody's above the law. White privilege is a real thing, and
all right,
Donald Trump has divided the country. And no, I would never vote for Donald Trump.
We're not asking you to change your vote. No, I'm not saying, we're not saying did this change your vote, but you do understand, you can admit that there's a lot of things you didn't know and you were wrong about in terms of guns and different things that we just talked about. You understand that you were wrong, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I was asking.
That, yes, because I honestly really don't have time, and I'm really not into knowing the guns, searching really too much detail. It's just, I just don't like the fact that it's easily accessible for people that it should not be accessible for. That is a problem.
But that's not.
But sister, as a gangbanger, a former gangbanger, I just want to tell you, every single gun that I've ever acquired, I got off the street. Correct. Every single one, and I'm talking about I had fully automatic. I had Tatiana and Tatanina, all right, and they was like Uzis.
But and the laws.
So, Cash, what you're saying is we need to require all gangbangers to go through gun background checks before they can get their guns.
Yeah. Oh, it's my Kiwi on the comments. Sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, it's Kiwi.
Yeah, that's my Kiwi. I love you, Kiwi. I hope you feel better, baby.
Tiffany.
But yeah, no, I'm just. It's easy to get your hands on a gun in America. It's not gun control that's going to solve the problem of gun crimes. That's not going to do it. What's going to do it is. Honestly, there's nothing really. You're not going to solve it. You're not going to be able to solve it because the only way to is what they want to do, and that's take away guns. And you can't do that. You can't take away guns because that goes against our constitutional right, the right to bear arms. Really, what needs to happen is we have to have an awakening of the minds of the people, and people need to not be in a state of poverty or some kind of detrimental state that'll make them want to commit the crime in the first place. So really, we got to heal people's minds and heal people's hearts because it's not guns that kill people. It's messed up people that kill people.
It's white privilege that kills people.
Well, if I could say one thing, Tiffany, thank you for calling in because it's always really great to hear from somebody from the other side. I would just ask you that before you are forming these opinions and voting on opinions about subjects like gun control, please research, look into the channels that legal gun owners like myself have to go through in order to feel safe before you vote for somebody that wants to take my right away. I would just please encourage you to do some research and be able to answer the questions we asked you and look into what legal gun ownership, you know, what it entails, background checks. I mean, if I even get something like a DUI, that would kind of put my gun ownership at risk. And so there are really good gun safety laws in place, and please just research that before you advocate to take my right away.
Facts.
Also with you voting for someone who wants to take your right, female rights away.
Well, first
Well, now,
off,
sister. Well, go ahead, Emily.
yeah. First off, Trump has stated time and time again he is against a federal abortion ban. Roe versus Wade was bad law. Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who was a Democrat, she even said this was bad law. Nowhere in our Constitution is abortion mentioned. It was never supposed to be a federal decision. All the Supreme Court justices did was give the power back to the states. There is no state in this country where you cannot get an abortion currently. No state where it's banned. So I do not feel like my abortion rights are at risk. Also, I was adopted, so I'm very thankful my birth mom didn't choose abortion. But if I did want an abortion in all 50 states, I could get one under Trump's presidency and under Trump's next presidency. That's not on the table.
You can get one in Texas?
Okay.
Yeah, you can get one in Texas.
Just
Every
6
state.
weeks? 6 weeks?
I think it's 6 weeks, but you can get, you usually know by then.
So you mean there's no Trump abortion ban?
No Trump federal abortion ban. No.
Yeah, well, Tiff, hey, I just want you to know, Tiff, I love you to death, man, and I appreciate you being here. And even though I know you're not going to vote for Trump and you are on the other side, you still get an applause because you're my sister and you came and showed unity, and it was all respect and love. So, round of applause for you, my sister.
Minus the white privilege.
Yes, thank you.
I appreciate you.
I love you guys too. And congrats again on the baby.
Thank you, sis. I hope you have a good night.
All right, you too.
All right.
Justin, Kamala Harris is calling for a debate in October.
I'm with it. Let's do it. We got one last caller before we get off. Go ahead, caller.
Hello.
Hey, how you doing?
Doing good. My name is Jen.
Hey,
and
Jen.
I am a Trump supporter.
Round of applause. Round of applause for you.
And I just wanted to say, I am astounded how people are questioning what Trump is about when he's already proven himself. He is an exemplary president. He has exemplary business dealings. He's excellent in everything. Kamala is a flip-flop fish out of water. She knows nothing about anything. Who's running our country? Because it sure as heck isn't her. She lies about where she's been when she goes across country. She lied about her gun situation. There's so many things she lied about in the debate. I mean, how can anybody even vote for her? She's stupid.
Hey, I'm not going to argue that with you. I think you hit that one on the head. Real talk. I appreciate you.
Yeah, well, what astounds me is how anybody could even vote for, even question President Trump when they've already seen the results. They've seen what he does, what he's about. He's a beautiful man, and he's still got all his faculties. He's fighting for us. For God's sakes, he got shot, and nobody seems to care.
I care. I wore a bandage on my ear for a week.
Amen. But I'm just saying, all these donkey Democrats, all of these other people, well, we don't know President Trump. Where were you from 2016 to 2020, for God's sake?
Yeah.
You know, this is what is completely upsetting to me as an American. And then people have the audacity to bring up the gun control. It's like, what are you talking about? The Second Amendment is there for a reason, to protect us from the doggone criminals. The criminals are there. They're always going to be there.
It's there. They're actually, the amendment is there actually to protect us from the criminals that are in D.C. right now. I'm just going to say that, because that's a fact. The swamp is real and the state is deep.
Oh. Well, we need straight Second Amendment everywhere. We need to protect ourselves. Little kids are getting raped. We have trafficking by Hollywood. By the way, strike Hollywood Entertainment. Strike them. Get a Roku.
Now,
I'm telling you
before you
that.
keep going down that rabbit hole, we got to remember we are still on other platforms that might take us down if we say things a little too true.
Oh, okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay. Well, anyway,
but you're right.
So we'll go back to the debate. As the debate went, I think he did 92% excellent. There was an 8% where he was kind of falling for whatever crap she was pulling for a minute there. But otherwise, he's excellent.
I agree.
He's excellent. And he does nothing bad to us.
You are
He has
100%
ruined
correct.
us.
You're
I am
100%.
scared right now.
Don't be scared. You
am
got God on
scared.
your side, and you still live in the greatest country that God has ever allowed to exist. So, with that, can I get a Trump 2024 before we get up off here?
Trump 2024 all the way. God bless America. God bless everybody. And pray to God that we put this president in office. He deserves to be our president.
I know that's right.
Fight, y'all.
God bless you,
Amen,
sister. I hope
and
you
good
have a
night.
great day or good night.
Thank you.
She could live in Australia. All right, fine. Go
I
ahead.
have one quick thing I just saw on X. Again, we don't know the bias of the people that are voting, but Robert Griffin III posted a poll of who won the debate and why. We have 130,000 votes in so far. We have 67.6% for Trump, 32.4% for Kamala.
I agree. Told you.
All polls on X seem to trend towards Donald Trump, no matter who does them, even if
That's
they're
not true.
leftist.
That's
What
not
about,
true.
what about the cookies? Did you guys see the cookie lady?
Yeah, I'm about to say I seen some polls. I seen some polls on mine because I got liberals on mine, and their polls are super Kamala.
Yeah, but how
Well,
many?
they got to be smaller accounts.
What's the
Bigger
sample size?
Yeah, bigger accounts like the Krasensteins can't get Kamala over 40% at all.
So
But
yeah, how
Gotcha.
big are these other ones?
Well,
I don't know. I didn't look, but mine had over 7,000 votes, and it was 99% draw.
Yeah,
This-
7,000.
This cookie lady, it was a cookie shop in the county where the debate was held. I don't know the county. And they did Trump and Kamala cookies. And she said they were at 4,200 cookies sold for Trump, 369 sold for Kamala. I'm not saying that's a poll. I'm not saying it means anything. It was just interesting. It's a blue county.
Yeah.
I trust the cookies more than a CNN poll. So
Look to the cookie, George. Look to
Hey,
the
Emily,
cookie.
are you gonna be awake? Or are you going to sleep? If you don't got to stay up, I'm not tired at this point, so I'm going to continue my show after this. I'm going to go live again, and we're going to take call-ins, and I'm just going to talk to people all night because, yeah, why not? We got the machine to do it. So
I might go to sleep. I get up at 5 in the morning. But
do your thing.
Next live, I'll come on.
Get you some rest. I got you. It's no biggie. I think Suni might be up. I'm going to hit Suni up because Suni wanted to do the debates with me, but I already got suckered into doing this.
Her time.
No, she's actually in the States now.
Oh, is
Really?
she?
Yeah.
I did not know that. All
Yeah,
right.
she's out here.
I want to see
So
this
that's
Mark Cuban poll. We
Oh, really?
almost
I
made
bet
it.
you do want to see Mark Cuban's poll.
Oh,
Boy lover.
You need Jesus. I don't see it here. Anyways, we almost made it to 10,000. We're at 9,300. Let's go ahead and wrap it up. Emily,
Wait a
final
minute.
word.
Wait a minute. Before we get up off here, before we go, everybody that's on X, if you're not following me, can you please do me that favor? If you like doing the live call-ins and all of that good stuff, and you know who I am. I don't think I need to do an introduction. But there's my handle right there on the bottom. It is Cash Lee Kelly 1. All right, Cash with a K, because my mom wanted me to make a lot of money, but we were broke, so she broke my name and spelled it with a K. So Cash Lee Kelly 1 on X. Please come and follow me. I would appreciate it. I follow back as long as it's not a super influx and take me forever. But I always get back to you. My numbers are, I'm still following people from the other day. So yeah, if you could do that. And also follow Emily. Emily, where can they follow you at?
You can follow me on X. It's just my first and last name at Emily Mangione, and Instagram Emily Mangione 23. I'm trying to get better about posting on X, so.
Okay. Help her out, you guys. Go over there and follow her. If you don't follow her for anything else, follow her for that hat. All right, that hat is dope. All right, but I'm gonna tell you, she's sharp as a tack. If y'all watch her on the show, she's sharp. That's what I'm trying to get her to come on the show with me. So Casey, everybody knows where they can follow you at, but for those that don't know, let them know where they can follow you at, Casey.
Yeah, go follow me on X, American versus GOV, because I just hate the government, and we should never trust them.
Always trust your government.
Oh yeah,
I'm just kidding.
Says the guy that got the vaccine. Damn.
Just kidding. Go ahead, Russo. Tell them where they can follow you at, bro.
TWSYF_USA. That's Truth Will Set You Free USA. That's how you do it on X. All the other ones are Truth Will Set You Free wherever you're watching right now. Cash, since we have a lot of people watching, I will be on Stacey on the Right in about 2 minutes. I'll be calling in about 2 minutes. You want to hit this bottom line that I got going on right now for you?
Sure. I'm not going to say it the way you want me to. I'm going to say it like this. Are you sick of supporting woke companies? We're sick of supporting woke companies. So if you want to support America and American made, then you need to go over to Freedom Box Info right now. Freedom Box Info. Fill it out, and we're going to hit you up, and we're going to introduce you to a store that is everything American made, the way that it needs to be. You know what I'm saying? That's how it's got to be. Here in America, we support America, support American business, become a better person by doing it, and help save our country. We got to make America great again. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. FreedomBoxInfo.com.
Those gunshots had to trigger Tiffany if she's still watching. I feel like it did. I'm sorry. I have to. There's got to be some shots when you bring up the white privilege bullshit. Anyways, awakenotwokestore.com. If you like our gear, go to awakenotwokestore.com. Use Truth for 20% off. Proud to vote for a felon, Trump 2024. We've got about 30 different shirts on there. Patriot-owned water company. They're actually planning on doing something really big. I just saw the trucks for East Palestine. It is centuryh2o.com. Use Russo10 for 10% off. We actually have a whole horse line and portable line coming out shortly. Water's so clear.
You can't even see it.
There you go. All right. Take us home, Cash.
All right. Unite. Don't fight. Be a street light. Well, because only you can be the change that you wish to see in the world. And when you get too stressed out, gotta remember to pray, America. Because without God, everything falls apart.
This is why I said you can't give him the buttons.
Are we leaving? Are we about to get out of here right now?
Yeah, I had to leave the screen.
Why?
I got to take this call. Woo!
Yeah, brother.
Oh, Jesus.
That was good. I love this thing. I do.